This recording is a slow and steady telling of the entire story of Greek mythology. Arranged in a way that is calm, clear, and easy to follow, it begins with the earliest accounts of the earth and sky, the shaping of land and waters, and continues through the appearance of the Titans, the Olympian gods, and the many figures who shaped ancient stories. Each part is described in plain detail, without rush, creating a quiet path through the myths of gods, goddesses, heroes, and their journeys. The focus is not on excitement, but on order, sequence, and the simple unfolding of events across time. As the words move softly from one part of history to the next, the tone remains balanced and steady, allowing the listener to settle, to feel at ease, and to rest while hearing the calm account of these old stories. Chapter 1. Begin with a calm breath and a comfortable resting position. Begin with a calm breath, noticing how air moves in and out in a slow and steady rhythm. The chest rises, then gently falls, while the rest of the body begins to soften. The position on the bed feels steady, and the surface beneath is cool and supportive. A slight heaviness begins to settle across the arms, legs, and back as stillness deepens. Every moment feels longer, quieter, and slower, like time is stretching into a comfortable pause. The edges of the day begin to fade as a soft sense of ease replaces any thoughts that were once busy. The shoulders begin to loosen. Any tension that lingered throughout the day gradually slips away. The jaw softens, unclenching without effort, while the face smooths, the small muscles around the eyes relaxing. The forehead grows quiet, no longer holding the lines of concentration. This release spreads downward through the neck, lightening the weight that carried the head. There is nothing to hold, nothing to do, only a gentle sinking into rest. The body grows heavy, yet light at the same time, comfortably placed in the still room. Each breath slows further, moving evenly in and out. The lungs fill with air that feels calm and quiet, and the exhale leaves behind a growing sense of stillness. The mattress below carries the body without strain, shaping gently to every curve. Legs feel steady, arms are at rest, and the back is supported as if nothing can disturb the position. The sensation of lying down becomes more noticeable, simple and grounding. There is no need for movement, no need for effort, only an awareness of being here, safe and still. A soft curiosity begins to rise, not demanding, only gentle. It welcomes the idea of a slow story unfolding, one that carries no rush and no urgency. The atmosphere of the room feels hushed, as if waiting for calm words to flow. Each moment of quiet prepares the mind to listen in a way that feels easy, like floating on a calm surface. There is no weight in the thoughts, only the calm approach of something familiar and simple. The story will arrive like a soft presence, steady and clear, bringing images of old times into the still air. The beginning is simple. A wide sky stretches overhead, endless and clear. The deep earth rests below, firm and quiet. Still waters surround, unmoving, with a reflective surface. All is silent, as though waiting for form. Out of this stillness, shapes begin to take hold. Earth rises in ridges, sky expands higher, and water spreads calmly. The world begins without noise or rush, only slow unfolding. Each piece takes its place with steady order, creating a gentle balance. The beginning is not loud or sudden, but soft and sure, like a long breath filling space. From this first quiet world, Gaia, the earth, and Uranus, the sky, take form. Together they shape the land, mountains rising slowly, valleys settling deep, and wide plains stretching far. Rivers begin to wind, steady and constant. The open space of the sky arches above, providing endless expanse. Mountains stand firm and still, their tops meeting clouds that drift slowly. The land feels grounded, and the air above feels wide and limitless. Every part finds balance without haste, as if there is infinite time to settle into place. In this space, the Titans grow, steady and enduring, They are ancient, their presence large and unmoving, like vast figures spread across the world. Their order feels strong and stable, existing without rush, without change. They stand in quiet rows, holding the weight of time. Nothing disturbs them, as they remain, patient and solid. Each titan has a role, each one part of the slow structure of creation. They linger in long stillness, shaping the sense of an age that moves almost too slowly to notice. Among them are Cronus and Rhea, guiding the path for heirs to follow. Their care shapes what will come next, steady and measured. They take part in a careful order where one generation begins and another slowly replaces it. The process is not rushed, but deliberate, like time moving forward step by step. Each heir is carried forward with intention, ensuring the line continues. The flow of one to another becomes the rhythm of the story, quiet and reliable. From this line rises Zeus, who brings with him the order of Olympus. He organizes the roles of each god and goddess, setting duties with clear division. Rules are established to maintain calm balance, and the sky, sea, and underworld are given their guardians. Olympus stands tall, its heights visible and steady. Here a structured home takes form, with each presence in its rightful place. There is no haste in these assignments, only the calm establishment of order that will last. Among these figures stands Hera, steady and dignified, her role fixed beside Zeus. Poseidon claims the seas, their waves moving with a slow and endless rhythm, never ceasing, never hurried. Hades guards the underworld, his presence still and enduring, a realm that remains in shadow and silence. Each one holds steady, balanced in their domain. Their roles are distinct, yet together they create a whole picture, balanced and unmoving. Demeter tends the fields, and the quiet growth of grain covers the land. Sunlight rests over the soil, warming it in a steady cycle. Crops rise, tall and golden, swaying lightly in soft breezes. The fields stretch outward, calm and fertile, their cycle steady and sure. Life begins and ends in the soil, carried along with gentle rhythm, creating comfort and nourishment that never hurries. Athena stands in the city, where stone walls rise cool and smooth. Streets are straight, buildings firm, and order rules the space. The quiet hum of life moves through this place, with each step on stone steady and sure. Knowledge and planning mark the presence here, where thought is valued as much as action. The city feels structured, its edges sharp and clean, its flow calm and directed. Apollo carries music across the air, notes clear and simple. They drift in gentle rhythm, floating through the open space. The sound is not hurried, only soft and even, as though carried by a light breeze. His presence is steady, bringing warmth and light with each tone. The calm sound of strings fills the quiet air, adding a gentle layer to the story unfolding. Artemis moves in the forests, her steps soft against the earth. Leaves stir lightly, and branches sway with small movements. The quiet of the woods is deep, a silence that holds stillness between every sound. She moves with care, watchful and calm, her presence blending with the trees. The forest rests around her, peaceful and balanced, its life continuing in slow rhythm. Prometheus brings fire, the warmth spreading from small sparks. Hands gather around, holding the comfort of its glow. The flame is steady, flickering gently, offering heat and light. It is a quiet teacher, showing how to warm food, how to survive long nights, how to extend life into new patterns. Fire does not shout, it only glows, remaining calm and steady in its place. Persephone's story carries the change of seasons. When she walks upon the earth, fields rise with crops, breezes warm, and sunlight grows long. When she descends, the air cools, and fields fall into stillness, waiting for her return. The cycle is constant, reliable, and sure. Time passes in waves, repeating itself in endless rhythm, soothing, in its predictability. The heroes come, each completing their tasks, in quiet progression. Heracles moves through labors, one after another, strong and determined. Perseus carries out his task, calm and steady. Theseus follows his path, finishing what must be done. Their journeys are not told in rush or glory here, only in steady sequence, each step following another, until their work is complete. The Trojan War arrives, its camps lined with shields and tents. The shoreline stretches wide, with ships anchored, still in the water. Warriors stand in rows, their movements deliberate, their actions measured. The story moves slowly through battles, each one part of a long sequence. The air carries the sound of shields meeting, the sound of footsteps across earth, but even these pass in steady rhythm, leaving behind only silence. Odysseus takes his long journey home, the sea stretching endlessly beneath stars. Sails fill with steady wind, guiding the ship forward. Nights pass with calm skies, the stars bright and watchful overhead. Each wave carries the vessel onward, slow and patient. His return is not rushed but steady, each step closer to home measured by time and tide. The journey ends with quiet, a simple arrival after long travel. The story winds down now, as silence gathers again. Eyelids grow heavy, the body fully at rest. The story of beginnings, of gods, of heroes, has reached its end. There is no need for more thought, no need for more sound. The breath is calm, the body supported, the mind quiet. The story is complete, and rest has taken its place, carrying everything into sleep, slow and sure. Chapter 2. Settle your shoulders, relax the jaw, and loosen the face. Settle into this moment, knowing that peace is now within reach, allowing the body to ease into stillness as the day gently fades away. The shoulders drop naturally, releasing the quiet pressure they carried, and the neck softens, so the head feels supported without effort. The jaw loosens in its own rhythm, unclenched and resting without the need to hold. Muscles in the cheeks, smooth as if each small feature of the face has chosen to pause and rest. Behind the eyes, a calm heaviness spreads, helping the gaze drift inward where calmness is waiting. Breathing is slow and measured, creating space between one inhale and the next. Each breath fills the chest lightly and then leaves with quiet ease, requiring no effort, only awareness. The rhythm of this breathing begins to soothe the mind, creating balance and stability, reminding the body that it can trust the moment. The surface beneath feels firm yet gentle, carrying weight without strain. A stillness forms around the body, almost as though the air itself is resting. Awareness spreads outward to the arms, which feel settled along the sides. Fingers rest without movement, the skin cool against the fabric of sheaths. The legs sink evenly, supported from thigh to heel, every joint finding alignment without needing to adjust. The spine rests in its natural curve, cushioned and unforced. Warmth gathers in the chest and abdomen, a slow comfort that flows outward. Each passing second feels like a deeper step into quiet. The mind begins to drift toward calm, pictures, steady and clear. Imagine a wide horizon with soft light stretching across it. The colors shift slowly from pale blue to gentle gold, holding a quiet stillness. The scene carries no urgency, no demands, only calm space to rest in thought. The ground beneath the horizon is solid, firm, and unmoving. It offers a sense of stability that spreads throughout awareness. The story of old begins here, and it moves with the same quiet pace. Long before names and places, there was only form taking shape in silence. Earth stretched out with soil and stone. Sky rose above with open air, and waters lay unmoving, waiting to find their course. Nothing hurried, everything held its place, as though eternity had endless patience. The quiet origin of Greek myth grows from this stillness, and it asks nothing but to be observed. From the earth known as Gaia, the shape of mountains lifted upward, They rose steadily, their ridges sharp yet unmoving, valleys stretched long and wide, filling with shadows as the sky expanded above. Uranus, the sky itself, arched overhead, endless and vast. Together earth and sky formed the first steady structure of the world. Their joining created the ground and the ceiling of all life, offering a frame for the generations that would follow. In the stillness of this new world, the Titans appeared, vast figures whose presence carried weight like stone. Their forms were strong and ancient, each one standing as though time itself moved slower around them. They existed in balance, filling the space with silent endurance. The world was not yet filled with stories of conflict or glory. It was only the quiet presence of these first beings, holding the framework of creation. Among them were Cronus and Rhea, who guided what would come after. Their bond brought forth the line of those who would shape the world further. The process of succession was steady, one generation unfolding into the next. There was no haste, only deliberate movement, as though time stretched endlessly, to allow each figure to take its place. These early beings prepared the path for those who would define the structure of Olympus itself. Zeus emerged, rising as the organizer of all that followed. His presence marked a shift toward order, where duties and roles began to take clear form. He divided the realms with balance, the sky above, the waters below, and the unseen world beneath. Olympus became a gathering place high above, where those of divine presence would dwell in assigned harmony. Each god found purpose, each goddess found position, and balance began to govern creation. Hera's steady presence joined Zeus, her role bringing continuity and structure. Poseidon claimed the seas, his domain stretching in endless rhythm, waves rolling without pause. Hades took the underworld, a realm of silence and permanence, existing apart yet essential to the whole. Together they formed the foundation of divine order, each steady in their sphere. Their responsibilities created boundaries, and boundaries created peace. Demeter watched over the fields, where crops grew in steady cycles. Warmth from the sun touched the soil, and grain rose tall and golden. The land flourished under her care, producing sustenance in calm repetition. The seasons turned with measured pace, and each harvest followed the one before. Life sustained itself through her attention, quiet and dependable. Athena emerged as a guardian of wisdom and order. Her cities rose with stone, their walls firm and streets straight. There was no noise of chaos in her domain, only the calm progress of planning and reason. Her presence marked a world of thoughtful design, where knowledge shaped daily life. The hum of the city was steady and measured, grounded in structure and balance. Apollo's influence spread through music and light, the sound of strings carried into the air, each note clear and precise. The tones lingered softly, blending with the quiet atmosphere. His presence was a reminder of calm beauty, not rushed or loud, but simple and even. Light followed his path, steady and warming, creating clarity wherever it reached. Artemis moved with care in the forests, where silence was deep and layered. Trees rose tall, branches swaying lightly, shadows resting beneath leaves. The stillness of her domain was natural, peaceful and constant. Her watchful steps blended with the rhythm of the woods, her presence part of the quiet balance of nature. Nothing hurried, nothing disturbed. The forest simply existed in patient stillness. Prometheus gave the gift of fire, its glow warm and stable. The flame offered comfort, light in the darkness, and heat against the chill. It provided a tool for survival and growth, a steady presence in daily life. Fire remained dependable, its small flicker always capable of sustaining. The lesson was quiet yet lasting. Through simple sparks, life could adapt and endure. Persephone's path guided the seasons themselves. Her presence above brought warmth, growth, and renewal. When she departed, coolness arrived, fields rested, and silence covered the land. Her cycle was unbroken, a rhythm that returned again and again. Time itself became marked by her movement, and her story shaped the gentle predictability of the year. The heroes followed, each moving through their tasks with determination. Heracles completed his labors, each step adding to his journey. Perseus carried his mission forward, steady and focused. Theseus fulfilled his role, his path marked by duty, completed. Their stories were told, not with sudden bursts, but with steady progress. Each task ended, and another began, until the sequence was complete. The long war of Troy unfolded by the shore, where ships lined the coast and camps spread across the plain. Shields leaned against spears, fires burned low, and soldiers waited in rows. The conflict moved in cycles, one day followed by another, each with measured outcomes. The sound of battle rose and fell, but between these moments there was only silence and waiting. The war stretched long, its pace unchanging. Odysseus journeyed across seas, sails carrying him through nights filled with stars. The waves lifted and lowered the ship in gentle rhythm, guiding him slowly toward home. His travels were filled with pauses, each island and shore another step along a patient path. He moved forward not in haste but with steady resolve, until at last he reached the place he had longed for. His journey was not a rush, but a quiet progression. As the story draws to its end, silence gathers again. The breath continues in its calm rhythm, steady and unbroken. The body rests fully, supported by the surface beneath. Each muscle is soft, each thought is slower, drifting into stillness. The tale of beginnings, of gods, of heroes, has completed its path, leaving only peace behind. Eyelids grow heavier, thoughts fade, and rest takes hold. The story closes in quiet, carrying everything into sleep. Chapter 3. Breathe slowly, noticing the bed supporting your back and legs. Breathe slowly and feel the strength of calm returning, as each inhale fills the body with steadiness and each exhale carries away the weight of the day. The bed beneath gives support in every place it touches, holding the back evenly, guiding the shoulders to release, and letting the legs sink deeper into rest. The firmness of the mattress creates a sense of safety, while the softness of the fabric against the skin reminds the body it is time to be still. Every point of contact becomes an anchor, showing that nothing more is required than to remain here, allowing relaxation to spread further. The rhythm of the breath continues without effort, rising through the chest, falling again into the quiet of the room. The back feels fully cradled by the surface beneath, every curve in harmony with support. The legs grow heavier as the muscles loosen, thighs and calves resting evenly, while the feet lie still and unhurried. Air moves in and out, neither fast nor slow, only steady. And in that steadiness comes a simple comfort. The body is placed exactly where it belongs, and the mind begins to follow into stillness. Awareness widens to the room itself. The air is still, carrying only faint hints of quiet temperature, not cold, not warm, simply balanced. The walls hold the silence, and the ceiling feels distant, allowing space to rest without pressure. There is nothing that needs attention, nothing to be done, and so every sense gently turns inward. The sound of the breath becomes softer, more distant, almost blending with silence. The feeling of fabric along the skin remains as the last tether to waking thought. The story begins to emerge with the same calm rhythm as the breath. It stretches back to a time when the world was not yet filled with names or motion. The beginning of Greek mythology tells of a space where earth and sky were only just forming, where nothing was rushed and everything unfolded gradually. In this first space the land became steady ground, wide and unmoving. The sky opened above, endless and calm, while the waters below lay still, waiting to be stirred. The simplicity of these first moments creates a gentle foundation, carrying the listener further into relaxation. Gaia, The earth took shape with firm ridges, valleys and plains, while Uranus, the sky, spread high and clear above. They formed together the structure of existence, solid and expansive, covering all that lay beneath. The mountains lifted slowly into view, peaks rising against the horizon, while rivers began to trace paths across the surface, carving lines that would remain for ages. The union of earth and sky was not sudden but steady, like a rhythm that always continued, creating balance in its own quiet order. From their joining came the Titans, vast and enduring figures, whose presence filled the early world. Their existence was heavy and ancient, standing with the weight of eternity. Each Titan carried a role, their order shaping the framework of time itself. They remained, patient and unyielding, as though the world had infinite space for them to exist. The story of their presence is long and deliberate, moving at the pace of generations that do not hurry. Cronus and Rhea guided the path forward, their line giving rise to what would follow. Through them came the succession of powers, one generation handing the structure to the next. Cronus, measured and watchful, held his place until Zeus rose to change the shape of divine rule. This moment, like all others, unfolded not as a sudden clash, but as a gradual shift, a movement from old order to new order. With balance eventually restored, Zeus claimed Olympus as the seat of divine structure. From its height, he set in place roles and domains, each one fixed so that harmony could remain. The heavens became his, wide and bright, while the seas were given to Poseidon, and the underworld to Hades. This division was clear, steady, and lasting. The mountain itself stood tall, its peaks lost in cloud, its halls quiet and organized. Olympus became the framework where the gods would dwell, each part of the whole, none without place. Hera stood beside Zeus, carrying dignity and steadiness, her presence essential in maintaining the order of Olympus. Poseidon's seas stretched outward without end, waves rolling in unbroken rhythm, an eternal motion that asked for no change. Hades watched over the silent realm beneath the surface, where shadows lingered and souls found their rest. Each domain was distinct, yet together they made the world whole, ensuring that nothing was without guidance. Demeter cared for the growing fields, where crops rose tall beneath the sun. The soil gave grain and fruit, steady in its cycle, feeding the lives above. The earth warmed under her care, producing with each turn of season. Fields flourished, then rested, only to flourish again, all in predictable rhythm. Her presence was not loud or forceful, but calm and certain, the quiet guardian of sustenance and renewal. Athena brought wisdom into the cities, raising walls of stone, laying streets that crossed in order. She offered structure to thought as well as to place, ensuring that the balance of knowledge and planning guided progress. Her presence created order in human life, shaping decisions, offering strategies, and protecting what was built. The hum of her cities was measured, each life moving in connection with the whole. Apollo carried light and music through the air, his notes floating clearly, his radiance steady. The sound of strings was soft, yet lasting, echoing across open fields and through mountain passes. His warmth spread with the sun, dependable and bright, guiding both time and mood. His gift was balance, carried through sound and through light, reaching wherever it was needed. Artemis moved quietly in the forest, her steps soft upon the earth. The trees rose tall, their leaves swaying in still breezes, their shadows resting long across the ground. The forest lived in its own rhythm, unhurried and constant, every branch and root holding place. Her presence was calm and watchful, blending into the silence that surrounded her. In the deep woods, nothing rushed, and nothing disturbed the still order of nature. Prometheus gave fire to humanity, a flame that glowed without shouting, a warmth that endured through nights. It offered light where darkness rested, heat where cold pressed in, and usefulness where survival was needed. The gift of fire did not roar in this telling, it flickered evenly, reminding life of what could be created and sustained. It was not only survival, but also continuity, a tool that would remain for generations. Persephone's path marked the cycle of seasons, her presence above bringing light, warmth, and growth, and her return below bringing stillness, coolness, and rest. The earth followed her rhythm, its crops and fields rising and falling in harmony with her steps. Each year mirrored the one before, an unbroken circle of renewal and waiting. This cycle gave time a sense of certainty, a pattern that could always be trusted. Heroes moved quietly through their roles. Heracles faced tasks one after another, each completed with persistence. Perseus followed his path with patience. His challenges met steadily. Theseus advanced through his journey, completing what was placed before him. Their stories are often told with excitement, yet here they move slowly, deliberately, with no rush, only the progression of duty fulfilled. Their presence adds depth to the long story, but does not disturb its calm flow. The war at Troy unfolded with measured steps. Camps spread along the plain, ships anchored by the shore, and warriors lined in rows. Days passed into nights, and nights returned into days, the cycle of waiting and fighting continuing without haste. Each battle rose and fell, but silence always returned afterward, covering the field with stillness once again. The war stretched long, but here it feels patient, part of the slow current of myth. Odysseus' return journey carried him across seas under starlit skies. His ship moved steadily, sails filled by consistent wind, waves lifting and lowering the vessel without pause. Each island was another step, each delay another turn in the long path home. He continued forward with resolve, never fast, but never stopping. His story is one of distance and endurance, ending at last in a quiet homecoming, beneath a calm sky. Now the story reaches its conclusion. The breath remains steady, moving evenly in and out. The bed beneath still supports the body, the back and legs resting without strain. The muscles are soft, the thoughts are quiet, and the mind is ready to sink further into rest. The tale of creation, gods, and heroes has been told in calm rhythm, leaving nothing unsettled. Stillness takes its place once more, guiding the listener toward deep sleep, where time drifts away and peace remains unbroken. Chapter 4. Invite a quiet curiosity for gentle, unhurried stories tonight. Invite a quiet curiosity into the mind, allowing the stillness of the evening to open a space where calm stories can unfold without demand or urgency. The pace is gentle, the tone steady, and everything that rises comes forward in slow detail, leaving the mind free to drift into rest. This curiosity is not sharp or restless. It is soft and unhurried, the kind that observes without effort, simply letting images and events appear as they are. With the body already resting, the breath moving evenly, and the weight of the day fading, the mind becomes ready to follow these stories, one after another, until they dissolve into sleep. The earliest memories of Greek mythology begin with simplicity. There was only an expanse, undefined and silent, where shapes had not yet taken form. Out of this space came the beginning of the world, steady and deliberate. First appeared the foundation of the earth, wide and grounded. Above it stretched the endless sky, opening into infinite distance. Between them lay the waters, still and deep, waiting to be stirred. Nothing rushed, nothing demanded movement, and so the world began in balance. From the earth came Gaia, the presence of land itself, stable and vast. She gave shape to the mountains, lifting their peaks toward the horizon. She carved valleys, creating room for rivers to flow and plains to stretch. Her strength was quiet, but enduring, forming the ground that would hold all life. From above came Uranus, the sky, expansive and clear. His presence gave depth to the heavens, spreading light and shadow across the earth below. Together they made the world firm and complete, the base upon which everything else would rise. Their union gave rise to the Titans, beings of great age and weight. The Titans stood as markers of time, ancient and unmoving, their lives stretching across ages. Each had a presence that seemed to hold space itself in place. They filled the world with a sense of permanence, their order lasting for generations. These were not restless figures. They were patient, as if they had no need to hurry, as though eternity itself waited upon them. Cronus and Rhea emerged as central figures among the Titans, guiding what would follow. Their bond carried the line forward, leading to children who would reshape the order of the world. The passing of power was not instant, but measured, one era shifting into the next. From their line came Zeus, who would bring with him the structure of Olympus, dividing realms and assigning roles in a way that made balance possible. Zeus established Olympus on the highest peaks, a place that overlooked all else. From there, he ordered the heavens, seas, and underworld, setting each domain in place. The sky became his own, broad and bright, reaching in every direction. Poseidon claimed the waters, their waves stretching outward in ceaseless rhythm, their depth unfathomable. Hades received the underworld, a realm of quiet shadows where stillness reigned. This order was steady and lasting, creating the framework for divine presence. Beside Zeus was Hera, her role firm and constant. She represented continuity, her presence reinforcing the order of Olympus. Poseidon's seas remained in constant motion, waves following one another without interruption. The underworld remained silent, under Hades, unbroken and enduring. Together these three domains created wholeness: the skies above, the seas below, and the unseen depths beneath the earth. Demeter tended to the fertile lands, ensuring that grain rose and fruit ripened in their seasons. Her care brought warmth to the soil, and fields expanded under her influence. The growth of crops came in cycles that never failed, harvest following harvest, each in its time. She was the guardian of sustenance, the one who gave the earth its nourishment in steady measure. Athena emerged as the figure of wisdom and planning. Her cities grew with structure, their walls carefully built, their streets orderly and clean. Within them, knowledge was cultivated, guiding lives with thought and intention. She was the presence of reason, ensuring that progress came not through haste, but through careful steps. In her domain, balance was found in structure and clarity. Apollo carried harmony through light and sound. His music drifted across the air in gentle tones, steady and soothing. His radiance filled the days with brightness, offering a warmth that gave comfort and clarity. Apollo's influence was one of balance, a reminder of the calm rhythm of life. His music was not rushed, his light not harsh, but both lingered in quiet strength. Artemis, his twin, walked the forests with soft steps. Her presence was quiet, her movements blending into the silence of trees. The forest itself responded to her care, the animals moving gently, the shadows stretching calmly. She belonged to the rhythm of nature, steady and timeless, where each cycle of growth and rest unfolded without interruption. Prometheus brought the gift of fire, a simple flame that held great importance. It glowed steadily, small but enduring, a tool that transformed life. Fire gave warmth in the cold, light in the dark, and the means to create and endure. It was a quiet presence, its flicker soft, its power reliable. Prometheus's gift was not a moment of noise, but one of lasting change, a flame that continued through time. Persephone's role shaped the seasons, her movement marking the rhythm of the year. When she walked above, the earth awakened, fields green and full. When she descended, the air cooled, and crops rested in the soil. Her journey was a cycle that repeated endlessly, bringing both abundance and pause. Through her, the passage of time became visible, predictable and calm. The heroes of myth appeared, each with their path. Heracles completed his labors one by one, each task steady in its unfolding. Perseus followed his course, his actions deliberate and sure. Theseus carried out his duties, bringing his story to completion with patience. Each hero's path was a sequence of actions, not rushed, but purposeful, contributing to the larger flow of myth. The Trojan War stretched across years. Its camps spread across plains and shores. Warriors gathered, ships anchored, and the waiting was as constant as the fighting. The rhythm of conflict was measured, with long periods of silence between moments of noise. Each side endured, the war unfolding as a slow passage of time rather than a sudden storm. The land itself seemed to hold its breath, bearing witness to the steady persistence of both armies. Odysseus's journey home was marked by distance and endurance. His ship carried him across waters that rose and fell without hurry. Nights passed, under stars that watched quietly from above, while islands appeared as pauses along his path. The journey was not swift, but it was steady, each step forward bringing him closer to return. His patience and resolve shaped the long road home, his story one of persistence. The story now comes to its quiet close. The breath continues in rhythm, the body remains at ease, and the mind is wrapped in stillness. The images of gods, of heroes, of seasons and journeys linger softly, fading into the background. Curiosity has been satisfied, yet nothing stirs the mind from its calm state. The tales rest now, leaving behind silence, and that silence invites rest deeper than thought. The body grows heavier, the mind lighter, until both drift into the calmness of sleep, where the story ends, not in noise but in quiet peace. Chapter 5. Picture the beginning. Wide sky, deep earth, still waters. Picture the beginning as vast and endless, where silence stretched across everything, and only the simplest shapes of existence began to appear. A wide sky opened, spreading outward without measure, carrying with it a calm emptiness that seemed eternal. Beneath it lay the deep earth, solid yet quiet, holding the weight of stillness without movement or sound. Around them rested the waters, smooth and unmoving, their surface reflecting a world not yet shaped. There was no rush, no urgency, only balance, as if time itself paused to allow creation to form carefully and without disturbance. The sky felt boundless, stretching into distance that never ended. A dome of pale light, without stars or clouds. The earth below was firm, dark, and wide, a foundation that carried strength but did not yet know form. The waters spread across the edges of the land, their calm surface shining faintly, like glass, resting under the faint glow of the heavens. Nothing disturbed them, not wind, not motion, only quiet presence. These three, sky, earth, and water, stood together in the first arrangement of the world, creating the stage for everything that would follow. Out of this silent balance came Gaia, the living presence of the earth. She was steady and expansive, her strength unfolding as mountains began to rise, their peaks firm against the horizon. Valleys opened, deep and still, waiting to be filled with rivers. Plains stretched outward in long stretches, wide enough to hold the promise of life. Her form carried permanence, grounding everything that would come after. Uranus, the sky, spread over her, high and endless, filling space above with depth and clarity. Together they gave the world shape, one holding the ground, the other arching across the heights. From their union came the Titans, beings vast and patient, their presence filling the empty stretches of creation. They did not move quickly, nor did they hurry to shape their roles. They existed with the weight of eternity, their lives measured in ages rather than moments. Their strength was silent, their order unchanging, as if they had always been and always would be. Time itself seemed slower in their presence, their existence stretching across centuries without strain. Among the Titans, Cronus emerged as one who would hold power in his hands. His presence carried authority, and alongside him stood Rhea, steady and balanced. Together they continued the line of succession, guiding what would one day rise beyond them. Their path was deliberate, each step in their story unfolding with patience. The world itself seemed to wait for what would follow. Each generation prepared to hand forward the weight of creation. Zeus came as the one who would establish order, not by haste, but by setting clear divisions across the world. He chose Olympus, high above, as his dwelling, a mountain rising into clouds, visible from every direction. From there, he assigned the realms to their keepers. The heavens became his domain, vast and filled with light. The seas were given to Poseidon, their waters stretching outward in endless waves. The underworld was entrusted to Hades, a place of shadows and permanence beneath the ground. Each domain found its guardian, and balance was formed again, this time more refined and deliberate. Hera joined Zeus, her role steady and enduring, reinforcing the structure of Olympus. She represented constancy, her presence beside him strengthening the order he created. Poseidon's seas moved in rhythm, waves rolling one after another in ceaseless motion. Hades kept watch over the underworld, where silence never broke and stillness was absolute. Each role was distinct, yet together they maintained harmony, no part of the world left without care. The earth grew fertile under Demeter's watch. Fields stretched wide, touched by sunlight that warmed the soil, bringing forth grain and fruit. Growth came in cycles, steady and dependable. As harvests returned year after year, Demeter's presence was quiet but vital, her care ensuring that life above the ground could endure. The land flourished not with noise, but with gentle predictability, each season returning in its time. Wisdom and planning came with Athena, who shaped cities of stone and order. Walls rose firm, streets were straight, and life within them moved with reason. Her presence encouraged thought and balance, ensuring that decisions were guided by knowledge rather than haste. Her cities stood as markers of structure, where clarity and intention directed daily life. She gave to the world a sense of progress measured by order and reason. Apollo brought harmony through both music and light. His strings sounded gentle notes that drifted across the air, clear and soft. His radiance stretched outward with the sun, warming the days and guiding the hours. His influence was calm and dependable, reminding the world of balance and beauty. Music and light together created a sense of calm clarity, each presence lasting, each presence even. Artemis kept watch in the forests, her steps blending with the silence of trees. Tall trunks reached upward, branches swayed with the faintest of breezes, and shadows stretched quietly across the ground. The forest held its own still rhythm, and Artemis was part of it, unhurried and steady. Her presence protected its quiet, ensuring that the balance of nature was preserved. Prometheus gave to humanity fire, its glow small but powerful. The flame offered warmth in the night, light against the dark, and comfort in the cold. It was not loud, but steady, its flicker carrying strength across time. Through fire, humanity found survival and creation, a quiet gift that would endure through generations. Prometheus's act was not sudden noise, but lasting change, one that shaped life itself. The seasons came to be marked by Persephone, whose path guided the earth. When she was present above, the fields grew green, crops flourished, and warmth spread across the land. When she descended, the ground rested, the air cooled, and silence covered the soil. Her cycle repeated endlessly, her journey giving rhythm to the year itself. Through her, time became something that could be trusted, a pattern that would always return. Heroes emerged, each carrying tasks that shaped their stories. Heracles moved through his labors, each one completed with persistence. Perseus carried out his mission, his steps deliberate and sure. Theseus advanced on his path, bringing order to what he faced. Their actions did not rush forward, but unfolded in careful sequence, their journeys steady, each task leading to the next. The War of Troy stretched across years. Its camp spread along the plains and shores. Ships waited at the coast, soldiers lined in rows, and battles rose and fell with time. Yet between each conflict came long silences, moments of waiting, that lasted as much as the fighting itself. The war was not sudden, but enduring, a span of time that marked generations. The land bore witness, carrying the memory of both noise and stillness. Odysseus's journey across the seas was long and unhurried. His ship moved with the steady rhythm of waves, sails filled with the breath of winds that never hurried. Nights were marked by the stars, quiet and watchful, while days stretched across endless water. His journey paused on many shores, each one a step along the way, each one another turn in his path home. The voyage was not swift, but it was certain, carried forward by patience and resolve. The story of beginnings, of gods, of heroes, rests now in stillness. The wide sky remains above, the deep earth lies below, and the waters continue their calm presence. Each figure, each tale, has unfolded in steady rhythm, leaving the mind quiet and the body at ease. Breath continues softly, the bed supports fully, and the silence of the room deepens. Curiosity has been met with gentle stories, and those stories dissolve into rest. The mind softens, the body grows heavy, and sleep arrives, unhurried, to close the day. Chapter 6. Describe Gaia and Uranus shaping land, mountains, and open space. Imagine the earliest time when everything began to take shape, when Gaia and Uranus emerged as the first great presences and slowly created the foundation of the world. Gaia, the earth itself, stretched her vast body outward, giving form to land that had not yet existed. She was steady and enduring, spreading plains that reached into distance, lifting ridges that rose into hills, and curving valleys that would one day hold rivers. Her strength was patient, her work deliberate, creating not with speed, but with balance. So every part of her surface had its place. Above her, Uranus expanded as the sky, opening into endless space, arching across her body with depth and height. His presence brought the sense of distance and boundless reach, the ceiling to all creation. Together they formed the first order, one firm and grounded, the other vast and limitless. Gaia pressed upward, shaping mountains whose peaks cut into the horizon. Each mountain stood solid, anchored deep, its slopes steady, its tops cool and silent. The mountains were not hurried into being. They formed as if time stretched endlessly, to allow every stone to settle. Valleys opened between them, wide and calm, filled with shadows that waited for streams to flow. The earth was layered in these features, creating a landscape that would endure for ages. Uranus looked down from above, his endless reach covering each rise and hollow, his presence giving the land meaning by placing it beneath his wide expanse. The mountains became markers, dividing the world into regions, their size making them seem eternal. Their stillness carried weight, as though nothing could move them once they had formed. Plains spread in their shadows, vast stretches of soil and stone that promised life would one day grow. Hills rose gently, shaping softer parts of the earth, while cliffs stood firm, rising from the ground as guardians. All of this was Gaia's gift, her body extended into form, her strength creating the surface on which everything else would stand. Uranus it from above, providing sky that never ended, a dome that made the earth below complete. Rivers began as small lines cut into Gaia's surface, winding their way through valleys. They were quiet at first, thin streams of water, moving gently, carving paths that grew deeper with time. Lakes appeared where the water gathered, wide and reflective, mirroring the open sky above. These features gave balance to the land, breaking its hardness with movement and softness. Uranus provided the space for winds to move, carrying air across the rivers and lakes, making ripples appear, creating the first gentle motions upon the earth. Forests had not yet spread, and cities had not yet risen. What existed was the open earth itself, bare and vast, waiting for more. Gaia was not finished. She continued to push upward, forming ridges and plateaus, each one unique in its shape. Some stretched flat and long, Others rose suddenly, and still others curved into rounded heights. Uranus held them all beneath his endless presence, his dome of sky never shifting, always the same. The partnership of earth and sky created a still beauty, one permanent and unchanging. The open space between them was just as important as the land itself. Uranus gave height, offering the sense of freedom, while Gaia grounded everything, offering stability. Between the two stretched air that was still unbroken by sound, carrying only quiet. This air filled the world, giving room for movement, though nothing yet moved. The emptiness was peaceful, not lacking, but complete, a balance between land below and sky above. As Gaia shaped more of herself, she formed coastlines, where land met the edges of the waters. Shores stretched long and even, their surfaces smooth, their curves gentle. The water lay still against them, resting in place, reflecting both the ground beside it and the wide sky above. These lines marked boundaries, showing where one form ended and another began. Uranus cast his presence above it all, vast enough to cover sea, land, and horizon alike, uniting them under one endless span. Caves and hollows appeared within Gaia's form, hidden spaces carved into her depths. They were cool and dark, resting quietly beneath mountains and hills. These spaces carried mystery, though not noise, only calm shadows. They would one day become homes for stories, but in these first times, they were only empty chambers, reminders of the earth's depth. Uranus covered them from above, his sky indifferent to their secrecy, holding stillness, whether over mountain peak or hidden cavern. Step by step, the earth became more complete. Gaia's body carried ridges, slopes, flatlands, and coasts, each one placed with care, none without purpose. Uranus stretched without end, his presence equal in every direction, offering balance through his infinite reach. Together they made the world solid and whole, one part holding, the other surrounding. Their union was not noisy or dramatic, but slow, deliberate, and sure, creating the stability that would endure through all ages of myth. As the land grew, Gaia gave rise to fertile soil, its texture different from stone and rock. This soil promised growth, though plants had not yet taken root. Its surface was rich, waiting steady beneath the air. Uranus's sky arched above it, offering light and distance, though the sun itself had not yet been named. This pairing of Earth's readiness and sky's openness gave potential to what would come. The world was now layered, balanced between hardness and softness, permanence and openness. Mountains stood higher, rivers carved deeper, and plains stretched wider, all while Uranus remained the frame above. He covered the entire expanse, his vastness never tiring, his presence never fading. Gaia continued her shaping, as if her energy was endless, as if her task was to build a world of strength. Between them, space opened that would one day hold the winds, the clouds, the rain, and all the life that would breathe. In this early creation, there was no conflict, no rush. It was only the steady work of Gaia and Uranus, earth and sky, shaping the features of a world that would remain long after them. Their work gave structure, their presence gave permanence, and their union gave balance. This foundation was enough to hold everything that would later come: gods, goddesses, heroes, wars, journeys, and stories. All of them depended on this first shaping, on the mountains that would stand, on the valleys that would hold rivers, on the sky that would never fail to cover the earth. As the land and sky continued to settle, silence grew deeper, stretching across the whole creation. The breath of the world slowed, as though everything had found its resting place. Gaia lay still but strong, her surface complete. Uranus remained wide and endless, always present above. Together they had made the beginnings of all things, not with haste, but with calm patience. And through their balance the world was ready for what would follow. The story of Gaia and Uranus is one of structure and endurance, not noise or sudden change. It is the tale of foundations, of land rising, of mountains forming, of sky stretching, of space opening. It is quiet, but it lasts, and its quietness is what gives it strength. With earth beneath and sky above, the world had its first order, its first permanence, and everything else could begin. And as the mind holds this picture, still and complete, the body finds itself resting in the same balance, steady and calm, ready to drift further into peace and into sleep. Chapter 7. Observe the Titans growing steady and ancient in quiet order. Observe the Titans as they rise in the early world, immense and unshaken, their presence stretching across ages in silence and strength. They did not appear in haste, nor did they grow with urgency, but instead took their places as though eternity itself had endless time to shape them. Their bodies seemed like parts of the land, vast and unyielding, their presence giving the world weight and permanence. Each Titan carried a role, not loud or rushed, but fixed, steady, and lasting. Together they created a sense of order that felt unbroken, as if nothing could shift them from their place. They grew in number, each one distinct, yet all of them bound by the same ancient stillness. Oceanus extended as a figure of rivers and seas, his reach endless, his flow slow and constant. Hyperion embodied the light that would stretch across the heavens, his form carrying brightness without glare. Theia and Themis stood firm, one tied to vision, the other to balance and justice. Their presences were not movements of chaos, but markers of structure, giving the unfolding world its first laws. They endured like mountains, their lives measured not in days or years, but in eras that passed without end. The Titans lived as though time itself was slower around them. They carried the atmosphere of permanence, a kind of silence that made them feel eternal. Their relationships bound them together, brothers and sisters, partners and companions, each one woven into the fabric of creation. They did not rush through their existence, but remained as guardians of the early order. In their watch the world expanded, mountains rising higher, rivers carving deeper, sky widening above. They were witnesses and shapers, not through speed, but through patience that seemed unending. Cronus stood among them, carrying a presence that was both commanding and deliberate. He held the power of succession, the one who would shape the line of future rule. His movements were careful, his choices steady, and his place among the Titans was marked by authority. Beside him was Rhea, calm and nurturing, a presence that brought continuity and care. Together they represented the balance of power and preservation, shaping what would come after them. Their union would give rise to the Olympian order, but here in the time of the Titans, they stood as part of the ancient whole. Other Titans carried their own influence. Celeus and Phoebe represented the depth of thought and the clarity of sight. Crius held the constellations, marking order in the stars above. Mnemosyne embodied memory, the keeper of what was, holding every moment so that nothing would be lost. Tethys gave life to the waters, rivers flowing from her, streams winding into valleys, oceans rising and falling. Their influence spread across the world, each adding structure to the forming cosmos. They worked not through conflict, but through being, their presence alone enough to shape. The Titans filled the world with their quiet order. They were not figures of sudden change, but of lasting endurance. Their reign was long, measured not in the passing of days, but in vast spans of time. In their presence, the early myths unfolded slowly, with patience that mirrored their nature. They gave the world stability, a framework upon which later stories would rest. Without them, the rise of the Olympians would not have found foundation. They were the first pillars of existence, and their silence was their strength. The stillness of the Titans was mirrored in the world around them. The mountains stood unmoving, their peaks steady against the horizon. The seas rolled in constant rhythm, not rushed but consistent, their waves always returning. The sky arched above without falter, its dome endless and unbroken. The earth itself felt patient, as though shaped in the image of its first guardians. The Titans belonged to this world, their nature bound to the land, sea, and sky, each one a reflection of the elements they represented. Their lives intertwined with the cycles of nature. Oceanus flowed endlessly, his streams nourishing the land Gaia had shaped. Hyperion's light illuminated valleys and peaks, steady and reliable. Themis embodied the balance found in the rhythm of seasons, the fairness of day and night. Monotone ensured that these moments were remembered, that they would not vanish into nothingness. Each Titan stood as a force not loud or restless, but constant, their influence unshaken across time. Though their reign would one day end, the Titans themselves were not diminished by the passing of power. Their story was not one of defeat, but of transition. They represented the first age, the beginning of structure, the stability upon which new generations would build, even as Zeus would later claim Olympus and establish the rule of the gods. The Titans remained as the memory of what came before. Their names carried the weight of ancientness, their presence lingering like the mountains they resembled, still there even when overshadowed. The patience of the Titans is what makes their story soothing. They remind us of the value of endurance, of the calm that comes with constancy. They did not rush to create or to destroy, but allowed existence to unfold in its own pace. Their era stretched across countless years, their presence giving the world strength to last. They were the quiet guardians of an age, steady and ancient, their lives tied to the rhythm of time itself. As one observes them, it is easy to see their order as a calming picture. Imagine them standing in rows across the horizon, vast figures whose silhouettes seem like extensions of the earth itself. Their gaze is steady, their presence unshifting, as though they are part of the land and sky they shaped. Around them, rivers flow, mountains rise, winds drift, but they remain constant. The world changes slowly in their care, and they endure through it all. The Titans represent stillness and permanence, qualities that soothe the restless mind. Their reign shows that the beginning of the world was not sudden noise but deliberate unfolding. Every step was measured, every feature of the earth placed with care. Their lives were vast, their influence unending, and through them the early order of the cosmos was established. The quietness of their presence is what made them powerful, and their steadiness is what gave balance to creation. Their story continues as a reminder that strength does not always come with haste or sound. It can also come with patience, with being present, with holding space. The Titans embody this truth, existing not as forces of destruction, but as keepers of endurance. Their legacy remains in the foundations of myth, their names carrying the weight of an age that shaped all others. As the breath remains steady, and the body sinks deeper into rest, the image of the Titans lingers, giant, ancient, patient. They stand unmoved, their silence filling the space, their order never broken. Observing them brings calm, as though their endurance lends itself to the listener. The mind softens, the body loosens, and sleep begins to gather, steady as the presence of the Titans themselves. Their story fades into quiet, leaving only stillness, carrying the listener deeper into peace. Chapter 8. Remember Cronus and Rhea guiding a careful path for heirs. Remember the time when Cronus and Rhea stood at the center of the ancient order, guiding the path of their heirs with care, patience, and deliberate choice. Their story was not one of noise or haste, but of steady attention, shaping a lineage that would eventually define the world of gods and mortals. Cronus, one of the great Titans, held power over the generations, while Rhea, calm and nurturing, carried the role of preserving continuity. Together, they became a pair whose decisions influenced the course of everything that would come after. Cronus was born of Gaia and Uranus, a child of earth and sky, carrying with him the authority of succession. He was strong and deliberate, cautious yet commanding. His reign over the Titans marked an age where stability ruled. though it was shadowed by the weight of prophecy. It had been foretold that one of his children would rise against him, and so Cronus ruled with vigilance, aware of the delicate balance he held. The prophecy did not pass him by as mere rumor. It rested heavily on him, shaping the choices he made as a father and as a ruler. Rhea balanced Cronus's caution with her gentle presence. She represented care, devotion, and continuity, her nature steady and protective. She was often remembered as the great mother of the Olympian gods, one who preserved the future even when the present seemed uncertain. Her role was quiet but essential, ensuring that the children of Cronus would not be lost to fear or destroyed by suspicion. Where Cronus was deliberate and wary, Rhea was patient and protective, holding both strength and tenderness in equal measure. Their union produced children who would later become central to Greek mythology. Hestia, goddess of the hearth, carried the warmth of the home, the flame that gave stability and center to life. Demeter followed, bringing fertility and abundance to the land, ensuring that the soil would yield harvests for generations. Hera came next, the presence of marriage and queenship, her influence shaping relationships and authority. Then came Hades, who would one day rule the underworld, a silent and shadowed place. Poseidon followed, destined to command the seas, their vast depths and restless tides. Finally, there was Zeus, who would become the one to change the balance forever, rising to claim the sky and the throne of Olympus. Yet the birth of each child was shadowed by Cronus's fear of the prophecy. To prevent it from being fulfilled, he swallowed his children one by one as they were born, keeping them within his own body, hidden away from the world. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon were all taken in this way, preserved but imprisoned, their presence contained by their father's caution. Cronus believed this would protect his reign, believing that by keeping them within, he could prevent their rise. Rhea endured this with sorrow, her role as mother weighed down by the loss of each child. Yet she did not abandon hope. When Zeus was born, she resolved to preserve him. With care, she devised a plan, exchanging the infant with a stone wrapped in cloth, presenting it to Cronus as though it were the child. Cronus, wary but unsuspecting, swallowed the stone, believing the threat to his reign was contained once again. Meanwhile, Zeus was taken to safety, hidden away to grow in secret. This act by Rhea was one of quiet defiance, an act of preservation that would shape the course of history. Zeus grew, nourished and strengthened away from Cronus's gaze, his survival assured by his mother's decision. While his siblings remained held within their father, Zeus prepared for the moment when balance would shift. Rhea had protected the line, ensuring that the prophecy would not be erased, only delayed. When Zeus came of age, he returned to confront his father. The story is told with steadiness, not as sudden chaos, but as the fulfillment of what had long been predicted. With the aid of Metis, Zeus devised a way to free his siblings. A potion was given to Cronus, who in time released the children he had swallowed, one by one. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, and Poseidon emerged, unharmed, ready to take their places in the order of the world. The release of the children marked the beginning of a new age, no longer hidden. They stood together with Zeus, forming the line that would become the Olympians. Cronus had sought to prevent this, but in his effort to resist prophecy, he had only delayed its unfolding. The prophecy was realized, not with noise, but with inevitability, the careful path that had been guided by both caution and hope. Cronus's reign came to its end, and with it the age of the Titans began to fade. Yet his role was not one of failure. He was the figure who carried the transition from the ancient order to the new. Rhea's part was remembered with equal importance, for without her care, the future would not have survived. She ensured that the Olympians would live, that the world would not remain frozen under fear, and that life itself would continue to unfold. The children each found their roles, their places marked by the order Zeus established. Hestia became the guardian of the hearth, the flame at the center of every home. Demeter tended the fields, her presence ensuring growth and harvest. Hera took her place as the goddess of marriage and family, her influence lasting across ages. Hades accepted the underworld, a realm of shadows but also of rest and permanence. Poseidon took command of the seas, their vast expanse stretching endlessly. Zeus rose above them all, taking the sky, becoming ruler of gods and men. Through all of this, the path laid by Cronus and Rhea was fulfilled. Their story was not only about power, but about the shaping of succession. Cronus represented the caution of rule, the desire to hold on to authority, while Rhea represented preservation, ensuring the line would not be broken. Together they formed the bridge between eras, their choices leading directly to the world that followed. The story of Cronus and Rhea carries with it a quiet lesson, that even in fear, there can be continuity, and even in caution, there can be growth. Their presence guided the careful path of heirs, ensuring that the world of gods would move forward. Their children became the Olympians, the figures who would shape myth and memory, but the foundation was laid by their parents' choices. As the mind holds this story, it becomes easy to see the rhythm in its unfolding. Each birth, each decision, each transition happened not in rush, but in steady sequence. The prophecy came true, because time itself could not be stopped, and the path of heirs was always meant to continue. Cronus and Rhea remain remembered for this role, steady and lasting, the bridge between the Titans and the Olympians. Now the breath grows slower, the body more at ease, and the quiet of the story mirrors the quiet of the room. The images of Cronus, Rhea, and their children settle into place, forming a sequence that feels complete. The mind drifts with them, observing the careful path that was guided so long ago, and in that drifting comes stillness. The story fades into silence, and the silence deepens into rest, carrying everything towards sleep. Chapter 9. Follow Zeus, organizing Olympus with measured roles, rules, and duties. Follow Zeus as he steps into his role with clarity and purpose, building Olympus not with haste, but with steady organization that gave each god and goddess their rightful place. The struggle with the Titans had ended, and now the new generation stood ready to shape a balanced order. Zeus did not rush into authority. Instead, he considered the vast world before him, measuring how its parts should be divided, so that harmony could last. His strength was not only in power, but in his ability to assign duties with precision, creating a structure that would hold across ages. The mountain of Olympus rose above all, its peak stretching into the clouds, its slopes firm and unshaken. Zeus claimed this height as the center of his reign, a home for the gods and a symbol of stability. From here, the heavens spread outward, the seas lay below, and the underworld stretched unseen beneath the earth. Zeus knew that such a vast creation required balance, and so he began the work of dividing roles, ensuring that no realm was left without guidance. First, he kept the sky for himself, its endless reach his domain. The thunder and the lightning became his tools, not of chaos but of authority, reminders of the strength that watched from above. He was the guardian of order, the one whose presence reminded all of the structure that now ruled. By holding the sky, Zeus ensured that his reign covered everything beneath, making Olympus not only a mountain but a throne above the world. To his brother Poseidon, Zeus entrusted the seas. The waters stretched outward without end, deep and restless, yet steady in their rhythm. Poseidon accepted this role, his trident marking his rule. He commanded the tides, guided the currents, and oversaw the creatures that lived in the depths. The sea was vast, but in his hands it had direction. Zeus knew the assurance of giving Poseidon this space, for without care, the waters could overwhelm. With his brother in charge, the seas became a part of the balance. Hades received the underworld, the realm beneath the earth where shadows lingered and silence endured. Though it was not a place of noise or glory, it was essential. Souls found their rest there, and order was needed as much below as above. Hades accepted his domain with seriousness, becoming the guardian of the unseen. Zeus recognized the weight of this duty, and by giving it to Hades, He ensured that even the hidden parts of the world were not neglected. With the realms divided, Zeus turned his attention to the gods and goddesses who would dwell on Olympus itself. Each had a role, and each role contributed to the structure of the whole. Hera, his partner, was given the place of queen, guiding the bonds of marriage and the sanctity of family. Her influence provided continuity, reinforcing the ties that held households and communities together. She was not only his companion but a ruler in her own right, her presence ensuring that balance extended into human lives. Athena was given the place of wisdom and strategy, her mind shaping the order of thought and planning. She became the protector of cities, ensuring that knowledge and reason guided the paths of people. Apollo was placed as the keeper of light and music, his radiance and harmony filling both the heavens and the lives of mortals with beauty and clarity. Artemis, his twin, was entrusted with the forests and the hunt, her careful watch preserving the balance of nature, her presence steady in the quiet of the wild. Demeter held the fields and the harvest, ensuring that the land would continue to yield food for those who lived upon it. Her cycles brought abundance, her patience ensured continuity. Hestia kept the hearth, the flame that burned within every home, the fire that gave warmth and safety. Her role was quiet but central, the unseen anchor that made life secure. Ares, god of war, was given the task of embodying strength in conflict. Though his nature was fierce, his role was a reminder that even struggle had its place in the order of things. Zeus did not leave any part of existence without a guardian. Hermes was made the messenger, swift and sure, carrying words between gods and mortals, ensuring that communication never failed. Dionysus was given the place of celebration and renewal, his presence showing that joy and release were as necessary as duty and order. Every god and goddess had a role, not chosen at random, but set with intention, each piece contributing to the whole picture. The structure of Olympus was not only about authority, it was about balance. Zeus understood that the world could not remain steady unless every force had its place. The seas were restless, yet Poseidon steadied them. The underworld was shadowed, yet Hades kept it ordered. The sky was vast, but under Zeus, it had its guardian. The land, the hearth, the cities, the music, the forests, all were guided, all were cared for. Olympus became not just a dwelling, but a center of balance, where duties were measured and respected. Zeus's reign was marked by rules that maintained this harmony. He ensured that promises carried weight, that oaths were binding, that justice was upheld. Themis and Dica, goddesses of justice, stood by him, reinforcing the fairness that underpinned his order. Laws were not written in haste, but established with care, reminding both gods and mortals of their responsibilities. Through Zeus's guidance, chaos gave way to structure, and the cosmos settled into its rhythm. The image of Olympus became one of calm order, not constant battle. The gods lived with their roles, fulfilling duties that connected them to the balance of creation. Zeus oversaw it all, his presence steady, his decisions deliberate. He was not simply the strongest, he was the organizer, the one who ensured that no part of the world was forgotten. His leadership was measured, his choices precise, and through them, Olympus became the lasting symbol of divine rule. The story of Zeus organizing Olympus is not one of sudden action, but of careful planning, of measured decisions that gave structure to a vast and complex world. Each god found their role, each domain its guardian, each duty its keeper. Through Zeus's order, the world became complete, balanced, between sky, sea, underworld, and the lives that filled them. His reign endured not only because of his power, but because of his understanding that harmony required structure. As the breath moves slowly, and the body rests deeper, the story lingers like the mountain of Olympus itself, tall, firm, and unshaken. Zeus's careful divisions become a picture of calm, each god in place, each duty fulfilled. The mind grows quieter, as it observes this order, and the body sinks further into peace. The organization of Olympus becomes not only a tale of gods, but a reminder of balance, a picture of stillness that guides the listener into the deep calm of sleep. Chapter 10. Explore Hera, Poseidon, and Hades with calm, balanced attention. Explore the presence of Hera, Poseidon, and Hades, three figures whose roles were central to the balance of the ancient world, each embodying a domain that brought stability and structure to life. Their stories were not simply about force or conflict, but about the quiet endurance of responsibilities that stretched across ages. Each of them represented a part of existence that could not be overlooked. Hera with her care for bonds and order, Poseidon with his command of the vast seas, and Hades with his stewardship of the unseen realm beneath the earth. Together they formed a triad of balance that gave depth and completeness to the order Zeus had shaped. Hera's role was to preserve unity. As Queen of Olympus, her influence extended into marriage, family, and the relationships that tied communities together. Her presence was firm, steady, and often described as unyielding, for she represented constancy. Marriage was not a fleeting bond in her domain, but one built upon loyalty and endurance, and Hera stood as its guardian. She embodied stability, ensuring that the connections between gods and mortals alike held meaning. Her role was quiet in its strength, often uncelebrated compared to others, yet it formed the foundation of continuity within human and divine life. In temples built to honor her, rituals were not grand displays but careful reminders of her lasting influence, each offering a gesture of respect to her enduring presence. Poseidon's dominion stretched outward, across seas and rivers, a realm that covered more of the earth than land itself. He was not simply the god of the ocean, but of all waters that moved, from waves striking shores to streams trickling through valleys. His trident marked his authority, and his domain was vast, powerful, and unpredictable. Yet beneath its restless surface, his seas carried rhythm and balance. The tides moved in cycles, waves rose and fell in steady succession, and rivers wound their way patiently through the land. Poseidon represented both the force and the steadiness of the waters, a duality that was essential for life. Sailors called upon him, not out of fear alone, but for guidance, knowing that his presence ruled the currents that carried them. His power was immense, but it was also reliable, ensuring that the seas remained an integral part of the order of the world. Hades ruled the underworld, a domain often misunderstood as a place of dread, but in truth it was a realm of permanence and rest. The underworld was where souls found their place after life, not in chaos, but in quiet order. Hades was its caretaker, ensuring that boundaries were maintained, that the cycle of existence continued without interruption. His rule was solemn, but it was fair. He did not leave his realm, nor did he seek to expand beyond it, for his duty was complete within the shadows below. His crown was not of noise or light, but of endurance, and his role was as essential as that of his brothers above. He represented the inevitability of endings, but also the assurance of continuity, for through his domain, the balance of life was preserved. When observed together, Hera, Poseidon, and Hades reveal how each domain contributed to stability. Hera ensured that the bonds of human life and divine order remained intact. Poseidon commanded the seas that touched every shore, and Hades oversaw the realm where all journeys concluded. None of them could be overlooked, for without them the structure of Olympus and the world beyond it would falter. Their duties were not fleeting moments of action, but steady presences that endured across generations. Hera's influence shaped the lives of mortals most directly. Weddings, households, and families carried her name in blessing, her presence a reminder that unity gave strength. Poseidon's command was experienced through every wave, every flood, every calm tide that nourished coasts. Hades' influence was felt in the quiet certainty that life had its end, and that order awaited even in shadow. These were not stories of sudden spectacle, but of ongoing truth, simple and enduring. Each figure also reflected qualities of personality that matched their realms. Hera was steadfast, unbending, protective of the bonds she governed. Poseidon was powerful, at times unpredictable, but always tied to rhythm, like the waters themselves. Hades was reserved, distant, but unwavering in his responsibility, his constancy unmatched. In this way, they were more than rulers of domains. They were embodiments of the forces they oversaw. Their presence shaped not only myth, but the understanding of how the world itself was divided and cared for. Their temples and worship also reflected their steady influence. Hera was honored with offerings of loyalty and devotion, Poseidon with rituals before voyages and at coastal shrines, and Hades with solemn remembrance rather than loud festivals. The manner in which they were worshipped revealed the balance they carried. Hera for union, Poseidon for safe passage, and Hades for respect of the inevitable. These acts of reverence were not extravagant, but essential, linking mortal lives to divine constancy. The three also served as reminders of balance between life's visible and invisible parts. Hera represented the order of daily life, Poseidon the forces that connected lands across waters, and Hades the hidden truths that followed all existence. Together, they showed that the world was not held by one force alone, but by many, each with its duty. Their presence was measured, not frantic, ensuring that creation endured without falling into imbalance. Zeus's order relied heavily on the contributions of Hera, Poseidon, and Hades. Without Hera, the bonds of trust and loyalty would weaken. Without Poseidon, the seas would rage without purpose. Without Hades, the underworld would become chaos. Each sibling held their duty, and by doing so, the cosmos stood firm. Their cooperation, even when not always harmonious, was essential for stability. This careful arrangement reflected the deliberate structure that Zeus envisioned when he divided roles among them. The legacy of Hera, Poseidon, and Hades continues as symbols of constancy. Hera's protection of unity, Poseidon's command of water, and Hades's guardianship of the unseen remain reminders of how order requires many forms. Their myths were told not to create fear, but to explain balance, showing that life itself depended on forces that were steady, vast, and unseen. As the story settles into the mind, it carries the same calm weight as their presence. Hera's constancy, Poseidon's rhythm, and Hades's endurance form a quiet picture, one that soothes rather than excites. The breath grows slower as the listener follows their roles, the body sinks deeper into stillness, and the mind finds rest in their balance. Their duties remain fulfilled across time, their presence unbroken, and in that permanence lies peace. The story ends not with noise but with calm understanding, leaving the listener resting in the same balance that these gods preserved. Chapter 11. Notice Demeter's fields, warm sunlight on grain and soil. Notice Demeter's fields as they stretch across the land, wide and fertile, filled with the warmth of sunlight, resting on grain and soil. Her presence is calm, yet abundant, carrying the promise of harvest in every direction. The fields are steady, never rushed, their growth slow but certain, guided by the goddess who ensures that the earth continues to provide. Her role is not loud or dramatic, but essential, offering stability to both gods and mortals through the quiet cycle of planting, growth, and reaping. The soil beneath the feet feels rich, soft, and full of life. It has been tended with care, holding seeds that rest patiently until their time arrives. The sun shines evenly overhead, not burning but warming, giving gentle energy to the ground. Each grain of soil carries the potential for growth, and under Demeter's care it never fails. Her watch over the land ensures that no season is wasted, no field left barren. She is the guardian of sustenance, and her fields reflect the calm assurance of her duty. Crops begin to rise, green stalks pushing through the earth, reaching upward toward the light. Their growth is slow and measured, not hurried, their leaves unfolding in quiet rhythm. The fields sway gently in the breeze, the sound of their movement like a soft whisper across the land. As days pass, the green turns golden, the grain ripening under Demeter's gaze. Each ear of wheat is full, heavy with nourishment, ready to be gathered when the season completes its course. The farmers who walk the fields feel her presence in every step. Their work is steady, their labor guided by the cycle she oversees. They plant when the soil is ready, they tend as the crops grow, and they harvest when the grain bends heavy under the sun. Demeter's role is not only in the fields, but in the rhythm of human life, reminding all that food comes not in an instant, but through patience and care. She ties human existence to the earth, ensuring that people remain connected to the soil that sustains them. The warmth of the sunlight spreads evenly across the land, touching every stalk, every leaf, every inch of ground. It is not harsh or fleeting, but constant, a gentle heat that nurtures without burning. The air carries the smell of earth and grain, a soft fragrance that lingers in the breeze. The fields are alive, not with noise, but with quiet growth, every moment adding to the fullness of the harvest. Under Demeter's care, nothing is left undone, and nothing grows without purpose. Her presence is also felt in the seasons. When she is present, the earth flourishes, crops rise, and abundance fills the land. When she withdraws in sorrow, the fields fall into stillness, the soil rests, and the air grows cool. The story of her daughter Persephone ties Demeter's role to the cycle of seasons themselves, marking the time when the earth gives and the time when it waits. This rhythm is not a loss, but a reminder of balance, showing that life depends on both growth and rest. The rituals held in her honor were simple yet meaningful. Offerings of grain, bread, and fruit were given at her altars, symbols of gratitude for the abundance she provided. Festivals marked the harvest, not with noise, but with steady acknowledgement of her gifts. People knew that their survival was tied to her presence, and their respect ensured that her cycle of care continued unbroken. Demeter's fields were more than farmland. They were the foundation of stability. Without her, the earth would not provide, and without the earth, life could not endure. Her influence touched every home, every table, every meal shared among families. She represented nourishment not only of the body, but of the spirit, for her fields reminded mortals that patience and care always brought reward. The image of her fields under sunlight is one of peace. Rows of golden grain stretch as far as the eye can see, their tops swaying gently, their sound soft and soothing. The soil beneath is dark and fertile, carrying the weight of generations of growth. The warmth of the sun is steady, creating a sense of comfort, a reminder that life is supported by forces that remain constant. Demeter's care is not loud, but it is enduring, and her fields reflect that constancy. The farmers gather the grain carefully, their hands steady, their movements slow. Each stalk is cut, bundled, and carried, becoming part of the cycle of sustenance. The harvest is not rushed, for each bundle represents the patience of months of growth. As the grain is stored, the people know that they will be nourished through the coming months, their survival assured by Demeter's guidance. Her influence is present in every loaf of bread, every bowl of grain, every meal shared in quiet homes. Her fields also carry a sense of timelessness. The grain that grows today is the same as that which grew centuries before, and the soil remains fertile through her watch. Generations pass, but her role remains unchanged, her fields continuing to provide without fail. She is not only the goddess of harvest, but of continuity, reminding all that life is carried forward through the steady cycles of the earth. The presence of Demeter also brings comfort to those who fear scarcity. Her fields show that abundance is possible when patience and care are given. She does not promise sudden wealth or quick reward, but steady provision, reliable and sure. Her influence teaches that the earth will provide when it is respected, and that nourishment comes not through force but through balance. As the mind pictures her fields, calm spreads like sunlight across the body. The sight of grain swaying in the breeze becomes soothing. The sound of stalks brushing together a gentle lull. The warmth of the sun on soil feels steady and grounding, reminding the listener of stability. Demeter's fields are not only a story of harvest, but an image of peace, a picture that quiets the mind and settles the spirit. In the stillness of night, her fields remain. The stars shine overhead, but the grain continues to sway in the breeze, its rhythm unbroken. The soil rests, holding the promise of new growth to come. Demeter's care does not cease, even in darkness, for the earth is always preparing for the next season. Her presence is endless, her fields eternal, her influence lasting. As the story of Demeter's fields settles in the mind, the body sinks deeper into rest. The warmth of sunlight on grain, the richness of soil, and the steadiness of cycles create a sense of calm. The listener feels nourished not only by food, but by the peace of knowing that enduring forces support life. Demeter's fields continue to stretch outward, golden and fertile, and in their endless rhythm, the mind drifts into sleep, carried by the quiet abundance of the earth. Chapter 12. Listen to Athena's city, cool stone, and ordered streets. Listen to Athena's city, as it rises in the calm of the ancient world, a place of cool stone and measured design. Its streets set in order by wisdom rather than chance. The walls are firm, built from blocks cut smooth and aligned with precision, their strength quiet yet undeniable. The air in the city is steady, carrying the faint sound of footsteps on stone, the soft hum of daily life, moving in harmony with the plan that Athena herself inspired. Nothing in this city feels hurried. Every part of it fits into the whole, every street guiding the traveler with clarity. The stone beneath the feet feels cool, its surface even and reliable, never shifting or giving way. Roads stretch straight ahead, crossing one another in lines that meet with balance. Buildings stand tall, but simple, their symmetry giving a sense of stability. There are no jagged edges, no chaos of design, only structures that feel as though they belong to the land itself. This city was not built for spectacle, but for endurance. Each detail shaped with careful thought, each wall placed with purpose. The people within the city move with calm rhythm. Merchants arrange their goods in neat rows, their voices low, their gestures steady. Scholars gather in shaded courtyards, speaking in soft tones, exchanging ideas that flow as evenly as the air. Soldiers patrol slowly along the walls, their armor reflecting light, but never clattering loudly. Families walk together through the streets, their steps unhurried, their movements fitting into the larger order of the place. This is a city shaped by reason, where life flows with balance rather than noise. At the center stands a temple, its columns tall and aligned, each one identical to the next. The marble is cool to the touch, smooth under the hand, reflecting light in a quiet glow. Within, offerings are placed carefully, each one laid with respect, each gesture a recognition of Athena's presence. The temple does not overwhelm with size, but impresses with its symmetry, its lines clean, its spaces measured. It is a place of clarity, a reminder of the wisdom that governs the city. The sound of the city is soft and measured. Footsteps echo lightly across courtyards, voices blend in calm tones, and the occasional sound of water flowing from fountains adds rhythm to the air. The fountains are simple, their streams steady, their basins carved from stone that holds cool water. The presence of water in the city is not merely practical, but symbolic, a reminder of clarity and purification, a sign that life within these walls is meant to flow without obstruction. The streets themselves are wide and ordered, each one leading to another with deliberate design. They are lined with trees that grow evenly, their branches providing shade, but never overwhelming the path. The leaves stir gently in the breeze, their sound adding a soft layer to the quiet atmosphere. Birds rest on rooftops, their calls brief and light, blending into the calm environment. The city breathes with a steady rhythm, its life unfolding with simplicity and reason. Athena's presence is not only in the stone, but in the minds of those who dwell within the walls. She embodies wisdom, strategy, and foresight, qualities that shape the daily lives of her people. Decisions are made with care, problems are met with clarity, and progress comes not from haste, but from thought. Her influence ensures that the city grows not only in size but in knowledge, its citizens striving for understanding as much as survival. This wisdom is reflected in the libraries, where scrolls are stored in neat rows, each one carefully preserved, each one a voice of the past waiting to be read. The marketplace is calm, arranged with balance rather than noise. Stalls line the paths in straight rows, their goods displayed neatly. Fruits and grains are set in baskets, fabrics folded carefully, tools laid in order. Voices rise in conversation, but none overwhelm the air. They blend into a steady hum that feels almost soothing. The exchange here is not only of goods, but of ideas, knowledge passing as easily as coin. The market, like the city itself, is guided by reason and balance. Public spaces are shaped with intention. The courtyards are wide, their surfaces paved with stone, their edges lined with columns that cast long shadows. Here, people gather not in disorder but in quiet assembly, their conversations measured, their debates focused. The theater is built into the side of a hill, its rows carved evenly, each seat placed so that every voice can be heard. Performances are not mere entertainment, but reflections on life, carrying lessons and wisdom within their stories. Even in leisure, the city reflects Athena's influence, where clarity and understanding guide every act. The city at night is no less ordered. Lamps line the streets, their flames steady, casting light across the stone. The air cools, carrying the scent of soil and the faint fragrance of olive trees. The streets are quieter, footsteps fewer, but the order remains. The temple glows faintly in the moonlight, its columns casting long shadows across the courtyard. The city does not sleep in disorder, it rests as it lives in balance and calm. Athena's wisdom ensures that even conflict has its place within reason. Soldiers train not with noise but with discipline, their movements precise, their practice guided by strategy. They learn not to fight in chaos, but to act with foresight, their strength rooted in preparation. War is not celebrated in this city, but when it comes it is faced with order, strategy, and clarity. Athena's influence ensures that defense is measured, that protection is guided by wisdom rather than impulse. The presence of olive trees is a constant reminder of her gift. Their trunks twist firmly, their leaves silvery in the light, their fruit steady in its yield. The olive tree represents peace, endurance, and provision, qualities that define the city itself. It grows slowly, lives long, and provides sustenance in both oil and fruit. Its presence within the city reflects Athena's nature, steady, nourishing, and enduring. The people of the city live not in fear, but in assurance. They know that their goddess watches over them, that her wisdom shapes their streets, their temples, their homes. They walk with confidence, not arrogance, for they understand that order is their strength. Their lives reflect balance, their actions guided by foresight, their choices measured. The city itself becomes a reflection of their goddess, every stone a testament to her influence, every street a reminder of her order. In imagining Athena's city, calm spreads through the mind. The coolness of stone, the order of streets, the rhythm of daily life, all create a picture of peace. It is not a place of noise or chaos, but of balance, where everything fits together as it should. The mind rests in this vision, soothed by the image of harmony. The body follows, sinking deeper into stillness, guided by the same balance that shapes the city. The story of Athena's city is one of order, wisdom, and clarity. It is a place where reason triumphs over disorder, where every detail has purpose, where every action is measured. To listen to this city is to hear the sound of calm footsteps, quiet voices, and steady rhythms. It is to feel the coolness of stone, the evenness of streets, the stability of structures. It is to find peace in order, to rest in the balance that Athena provides. And as the city settles in the mind, the listener drifts further into stillness, carried by its calm into the quiet of sleep. Chapter 13. Recall Apollo's music. Gentle notes carrying through clear air. Recall the sound of Apollo's music, flowing with calm clarity. Each note carried lightly through the air, touching the world with harmony that needed no force to be felt. His presence was never sudden or overwhelming, but steady, shaping both the heavens and the hearts of those who listened. Apollo held the lyre in his hands, its strings shimmering as his fingers moved with ease, and from it came tones that seemed to settle everything around him. The air itself seemed to pause, carrying his music across valleys, mountains, and seas, spreading balance wherever it traveled. The notes were gentle, but precise, never faltering, never rushed. They rose like threads of sound, weaving into the quiet atmosphere, until the world seemed to hum along with them. Birds stilled their wings to listen. Rivers seemed to flow in rhythm with the melody, and breezes moved with softer patterns. His music was not a performance meant to impress, but an expression of order, clarity, and calm. It reminded those who heard it that existence was not chaos but structure, that the world itself could move in rhythm when guided by harmony. Apollo's music was tied to light as much as to sound. As the sun rose across the sky, its warmth seemed to carry the same steady quality as his melodies. Morning light touched the tops of hills, just as the first notes touched the air, and together they created a picture of balance. Where the music was heard, there was clarity. Where his light reached, there was vision. Both qualities were connected, each reinforcing the other, creating a world where life could unfold with direction. In temples dedicated to him, the sound of music filled the air as offerings were made. The lyre's tones blended with voices chanting softly, their words measured, their rhythm guided by Apollo's influence. These gatherings were not about noise, but about alignment, bringing people together under the same steady sound. The worship of Apollo was an act of listening, as much as of giving, a reminder that his gift was not only in sound, but in the order it created in minds and lives. His melodies also carried healing. It was said that his notes had the power to calm illness, to ease suffering, to restore balance where it had been lost. The music reached beyond the ears, settling into the body itself, reminding it of the harmony it had forgotten. Apollo's role as a healer was not separate from his role as a musician. Both came from the same source, the understanding that order brings peace. Just as his light gave clarity to the day, his music gave clarity to the soul. The sound of the lyre was soft, yet lasting, each note lingering before fading gently into the air. The strings vibrated with even tone, their resonance clear, their echo traveling far into the distance. His playing never faltered, never stumbled, but carried on with patience, allowing listeners to rest in the certainty of its flow. In the calmness of his music, the world seemed simpler, its struggles less pressing, its confusion less overwhelming. The steady rhythm reminded all that beneath noise there was always order. Apollo's role extended beyond music into prophecy, and even here, the qualities of clarity and sound were tied together. The oracle at Delphi, dedicated to him, was not a place of confusion, but of truth revealed in careful words. The voice of the oracle was guided by Apollo's presence, her words carrying the same measured rhythm as his music. Those who came to seek guidance did not expect sudden answers, but insights that required listening, just as one listened to the steady unfolding of his songs. His presence also guided contests of art, where poets and musicians sought to honor him through performance. Yet even these were not about competition in the way mortals often imagined. They were about alignment, about creating sound that resonated with the balance he represented. Apollo was the standard of harmony, and through him, mortals learned that music was not mere sound, but structure that reflected the deeper order of life. His music was tied to memory too. When notes drifted across the air, they became reminders of times past, of calm moments, of gentle clarity. Those who heard him play could recall the feeling of peace long after the sound had faded. It was as if the air itself held onto the memory of his songs, whispering them back in quiet moments, carrying their calm even when the lyre was silent. Apollo's melodies reached into the wild, as well as into cities. Shepherds on hillsides would hear his tunes drifting across valleys, their flocks quieting as the sound passed. Fishermen at sea would feel his presence as his notes traveled across the waves, calming the waters, making their journeys smoother. Travelers on long roads would find comfort when his music reached them, the weariness of distance softened by the clarity of tone. His sound belonged everywhere, never bound by walls or borders, always moving freely. At night, when the world grew still, the memory of his music lingered like a faint glow. The stars above seemed to echo his balance, their placements orderly, their lights steady, mirroring the qualities he embodied. Though the lyre was silent in the darkness, those who had heard him carried the sound within them, resting easier because of it. His presence was not only in what was heard, but in what was remembered, not only in light, but in the calm left behind. Apollo's music also shaped the understanding of time. The rhythm of his melodies matched the rhythm of life itself: birth, growth, rest, renewal. Each note represented a step, each chord a cycle. To hear his music was to be reminded that time flowed with order, not in chaos, but in sequences that repeated and returned. This understanding brought comfort, for it showed that life itself had harmony, even in its challenges. His gift was not limited to gods or chosen few. Mortals found in his music a reminder of peace they could not always find in their lives. His sound carried into fields, into homes, into hearts, each time leaving behind quiet. It was said that even the animals responded, their movements slowing, their voices softening, when his melodies spread across the land. His music was not selective. It belonged to all, a universal reminder of order and calm. To recall Apollo's music is to remember a world aligned by sound and light, a world where chaos yielded to harmony. His notes carried across the air like threads, weaving everything into balance. His presence was not loud, but lasting, not fleeting, but eternal. He was both the musician and the light bringer, the healer and the prophet, his qualities all tied together by the steady order he represented. As the listener holds this image, the breath slows, the body softens, and the mind settles into the rhythm of his music. The notes are imagined clearly, drifting through air that feels cool and open. Each sound lingers, then fades, leaving behind peace. The calm becomes deeper, heavier, guiding the body further into rest. The story of Apollo's music does not end with sound, but with silence, a silence filled with balance, carrying the listener gently into sleep. Chapter 14. Trace Artemis in quiet forests, soft steps and watchful stillness. Trace Artemis as she moves through the forests, her presence light and measured, her steps quiet upon the earth, each movement blending into the stillness that surrounds her. She is the goddess of the hunt, of the moon, and of wild places, but in her story there is no rush, no loud declaration, only the careful rhythm of one who belongs fully to the silence of the natural world. Her domain is not of stone or cities, but of trees rising high, shadows stretching long, and animals moving softly between branches and streams. To follow her is to step into a realm where patience rules, where time is marked not by noise but by the changing light of the sky through the canopy overhead. The forest where she walks is calm and steady. Tall trunks stretch upward, their bark rough yet strong. their leaves swaying lightly when the breeze passes through. The air is cool beneath their cover, filled with the scent of pine, soil, and moss. Small streams cut through the undergrowth, their water flowing with steady rhythm, neither hurried nor still, but balanced. Birds call faintly in the distance, their voices brief, and then silence returns, as if even they respect the goddess moving among them. Artemis belongs here not as an intruder but as a guardian, her presence part of the rhythm of the woods themselves. Her steps are soft, leaving no trace, her pace unhurried. She moves as though she has always known these paths, as though every tree and shadow is familiar. In her hand rests her bow, not raised but held with calm assurance, a symbol of her role as protector of balance. The hunt in her world is not a matter of conquest, but of necessity, a reminder of the cycle of life that exists in quiet repetition. She watches with eyes that see clearly in both light and shadow, her stillness allowing her to observe every detail. Animals sense her presence, yet do not flee in fear. A deer pauses near a stream, lifting its head to listen, its ears twitching in the still air. Rabbits rest in the tall grass, their bodies low but untroubled. Birds remain in their branches, their wings folded. Artemis moves among them with respect, never disturbing more than is necessary, never taking more than balance allows. She is not chaos to the wild, but part of its structure, her role one of observation, care, and measured action. The moon above ties her presence to the night. When its light filters through the trees, it casts a silver glow upon the ground, outlining her figure as she moves. The shadows stretch longer, the air cools, and the forest becomes more hushed. Her connection to the moon is steady and lasting, its cycles reflecting her own rhythm of stillness and movement. In darkness, she is most visible, her presence shining softly, a reminder of her bond with the quietest hours. Her companions are the nymphs, spirits of the forest who move with her, their laughter faint but gentle, their presence adding to the calm rather than disturbing it. Together they tend to the wild, keeping watch over creatures and trees alike. Their movements are as light as hers, their steps leaving little sound, their presence blending into the rhythm of the natural world. Their bond with Artemis is one of trust, each sharing in the duty of preserving balance. The temples raised in her honor often stood at the edges of forests, where stone met trees, and where the offerings left by mortals connected them to her domain. These offerings were simple: fruits, grain, small tokens of respect. They were not meant to overwhelm, but to acknowledge her care. The worship of Artemis was often quiet, carried out under the open sky, or at the edge of a grove, reflecting her preference for places that belonged more to nature than to walls. Her presence was also tied to youth and protection. Children and young animals alike were under her care, their fragility safeguarded by her watchful eye. She was seen not only as a huntress, but as a guardian of beginnings, her attention ensuring that life had the chance to grow before it faced the cycles of change. This aspect of her role was gentle, a reminder that even within the wild there was room for nurture. Artemis was also known for her independence. She did not rely on the structures of Olympus as others did, but remained closely tied to her forests and her solitude. Her strength came not from dominance but from her self-sufficiency, her ability to find peace and power in silence. In her stillness there was clarity, in her distance there was balance. She represented a different kind of strength, one that was quiet but enduring. The forest at night reflects her nature. Crickets sing softly in the undergrowth, owls call from hidden branches, and the rustle of small creatures moving through leaves adds faint texture to the silence. The air is cool, carrying the faint moisture of streams, the scent of bark and earth. The moonlight shifts across the canopy, changing the shadows, guiding the eye through paths of light and dark. This is Artemis's world, a place where patience reigns and where observation brings understanding. Her bow, though a symbol of the hunt, is also a symbol of precision and restraint. Each arrow represents a decision made carefully, never wasted, never careless. The act of hunting under her guidance is not about destruction, but about maintaining balance. The wild thrives not through excess, but through cycles. And Artemis ensures that the cycles remain unbroken. Her watchful stillness allows her to act only when necessary, her role one of measured presence. In art and story, she is often shown with her bow, with her hounds, with the moon above her. Yet these are not symbols of conquest. They are reminders of her connection to both nature and clarity. The hounds at her side represent loyalty and guidance. The bow represents precision, and the moon represents rhythm. Each element ties her more deeply to her world, each showing that she is not a goddess of noise, but of calm constancy. When mortals thought of Artemis, they thought of the wild places where silence ruled. They thought of the forest paths that twisted through trees, of the streams that glistened in moonlight, of the air that felt both cool and clean. They knew that in these spaces, her presence could be felt, steady and protective. Her worship was less about grandeur and more about respect for the land, an acknowledgement that the forest itself was her temple. To trace Artemis in quiet forests is to follow the rhythm of patience. It is to feel the earth underfoot, solid and cool, to hear the whisper of leaves in gentle wind, to see the light of the moon resting on still water. It is to notice how silence can be powerful, how watchfulness can be more enduring than action. It is to understand that her presence is not fleeting, but constant, always tied to the cycles of night, nature and balance. As the story lingers, the image of Artemis becomes a source of calm. Her soft steps through the forest mirror the slowing of the breath. Her watchful stillness reflects the body sinking deeper into rest. The quiet of the forest becomes the quiet of the mind, each sound fading, each thought settling. The goddess remains in her woods, steady and protective, her presence eternal, and as the listener recalls her movement, they are carried into the same stillness, the same balance, drifting into sleep with the calm of the forest itself. Chapter 15. Guide attention to Prometheus and fire. Warm hands and learning. Guide attention now to Prometheus, whose gift of fire became one of the most enduring symbols of warmth, knowledge, and progress. His story is not told with the noise of conquest, but with the quiet significance of a flame shared in darkness, a light that brought humanity a path towards survival and learning. He was a titan, born of the ancient order, yet unlike many of his kind, he chose not to oppose or to destroy, but to nurture and to give. His presence in myth is tied to foresight, his name itself a reminder of his ability to look ahead and understand what was needed. Where others saw humans as fragile and temporary, Prometheus saw possibility, and from that vision came his gift. The fire he brought was more than spark and flame. It was continuity, the steady glow that could be carried from one place to another, the light that could survive night and storm. Imagine hands extended toward the fire for the first time, feeling its heat spread across skin, its glow illuminating faces that had never known such light. It was warmth against cold winds, it was safety against the darkness, and it was the beginning of learning. With fire, food could be cooked, tools could be forged, and stories could be told under its glow. This simple gift carried with it the foundation of civilization. Prometheus understood that humanity needed more than survival. It needed the means to grow. Fire became the first teacher, a silent guide, showing people how to adapt to their environment. Flames consumed wood, teaching that energy could be transformed. Sparks spread, showing that one flame could create many. Embers lasted, proving that patience could preserve power. Each lesson came without words, only through observation, only through the presence of the gift he had provided. The warmth of fire extended beyond physical comfort. Gathered around its glow, people came together, sharing food, stories, and presents. The circle of fire became the first gathering place, the first community built around something greater than the individual. It was not just a tool, but a center, giving people both connection and continuity. Prometheus, in offering this gift, gave humanity not only survival but identity, shaping the way people live together. Zeus, however, did not see this act as benevolent. The king of Olympus viewed fire as a divine power, not meant for mortals. To him, Prometheus had overstepped, granting to humanity something reserved for gods. For this, Zeus punished him, binding him to a rock, where his suffering would last across ages. Yet even in punishment, the significance of his gift could not be undone. Fire remained with humanity, and Prometheus's sacrifice ensured that what was once forbidden became permanent. His endurance in suffering reflected the weight of his foresight, for he knew that his gift would change the course of human existence. The image of Prometheus chained is often remembered, but within the quiet of the story lies something deeper, that his choice was deliberate. His punishment accepted because the outcome was worth it. His foresight allowed him to see beyond his own pain, to understand that warmth, learning, and creation would grow because of what he had given. His role is not that of rebellion for rebellion's sake, but of sacrifice that ensured progress. The flame itself remained a constant reminder of him. Each fire lit in the night carried his legacy. Each spark struck from stone echoed his decision. The hands that warmed themselves by the fire felt not only heat, but the continuation of his gift. The act of tending a flame, feeding it with wood, keeping it alive through the night, was a reflection of his care. Humanity learned responsibility through fire, for a flame left untended would fade, and one given attention would endure. As tools were forged in its heat, as meals were prepared over its glow, as stories were told beside its light, humanity grew in understanding. Fire became the teacher that never spoke, the presence that guided silently. Prometheus's gift gave direction without commands, only through the example of what it made possible. Each use of fire became an act of learning, each act of learning a step forward in the path of civilization. The punishment of Prometheus did not erase the gratitude mortals felt. Though they could not release him from his chains, they honored him in memory, understanding that their survival and progress had been tied to his choice. In temples and stories, he was remembered not for his suffering, but for his foresight, not for his defiance, but for his gift. His role was not one of noise, but of quiet endurance, a reminder that progress often requires sacrifice. The warmth of fire continued to carry his presence. In the cold of night, it gave protection. In the heart of storms, it gave resilience. In the darkness of caves, it gave light. In every household, its glow remained, the center of family, the heart of survival. It was as though Prometheus himself was present in every flame, his care reaching beyond his chains, touching every life that drew strength from his gift. The lesson of Prometheus is steady and enduring, that knowledge, once given, cannot be taken away, and that even in punishment, foresight remains stronger than fear. He showed that to guide others is not always to lead with power, but sometimes to give quietly, knowing that the gift will live beyond oneself. His fire was not only heat, but wisdom, not only survival but learning, not only light but connection. To guide attention to Prometheus is to see the fire itself. Picture the glow of embers, red and steady, their heat warming the air. Watch the flames rise, their shapes shifting, but their presence constant. Feel the warmth on the hands, steady and grounding, a reminder of the first time humanity felt this comfort. Hear the crackle of wood as it burns, each sound a quiet lesson of transformation. In this image rests the presence of the Titan, his gift alive, his foresight enduring. As the breath grows slower, the flame becomes softer in the mind. Its glow remains steady and calm, carrying warmth into the quiet of night. The story of Prometheus does not end with chains, but continues with every spark, every flame, every moment of learning that fire allows. His legacy is not silence, but continuity, a thread that runs through every life. And as the listener imagines the glow of fire, Their body settles into the same warmth, their mind rests in the same clarity, and sleep arrives, steady as the flame Prometheus gave, calm as the foresight that guided him. Chapter 16. Survey Persephone's seasons. Cooler winds returning to patient fields. Survey the story of Persephone and see how her seasons move with quiet rhythm, shaping the fields and the winds with a patience that spans across time. Her tale is one of transition, of cycles that bring both loss and return, of the earth resting and then awakening again. It is not a story of sudden noise but of steady change, each part of it tied to the natural order that sustains life. Through her the seasons were explained, not as random events, but as movements of presence and absence, warmth and coolness, abundance and stillness. Persephone was the daughter of Demeter, goddess of the harvest, and her youth was filled with the brightness of fields and flowers. She was connected to the living earth, her presence a sign of fertility and growth. Yet her path carried her into the underworld, drawn down into the realm of Hades, where shadows lingered and silence stretched. Her descent was not the end of her story, but the beginning of a rhythm that would mark the turning of time itself. From her departure came winter, and from her return came spring, each shift tied to her movement. The cooler winds that arrived with her absence were not sudden storms, but gentle reminders of change. They spread slowly across the fields, carrying the scent of soil left to rest, of leaves falling and settling into the ground. The sunlight softened, its warmth lessened, the days shorter, the fields grew quiet, their crops no longer rising, their soil covered in frost. This was the season of stillness, the earth's time to pause. In the quiet, Persephone was in the underworld, her presence away and the world reflected her absence. Yet her return was as certain as her departure. When she rose again to the earth, the winds shifted, carrying with them the freshness of spring. The fields awakened, green shoots pushing through the soil, the air filled with new fragrance, flowers opened, crops began their growth, and warmth returned to the days. The earth's rhythm followed her, and her mother Demeter's joy was reflected in the abundance of fields. Persephone's presence meant life renewed. Her absence meant rest and waiting. Together these cycles gave humanity its seasons. Her story was often told to explain why the earth could not always be abundant, why fields could not produce without pause. The pause was not a loss, but a necessity, for soil must rest as much as it must grow. Persephone embodied this truth, her journey marking the balance between fertility and dormancy. To survey her seasons is to see how life depends on rhythm, on patience, and on the understanding that each cycle has purpose. The underworld, where Persephone spent part of her time, was not seen as chaos, but as permanence. Her role as queen beside Hades gave her authority in that realm, her presence adding balance even to the shadows. When she was there, the earth above reflected quiet, mirroring her absence with stillness. When she returned, the underworld released her, and the earth above answered with growth. She was not only a figure of change, but a link between two worlds, ensuring that both were honored in turn. In rituals and festivals, her return was celebrated with gratitude. People recognized the pattern she created, offering thanks for her arrival each spring. The Eleusinian mysteries, held in her and Demeter's honor, reflected the deep connection between her story and human life. These rites reminded mortals that death and life were not separate, but part of the same cycle, that absence was always followed by return. Her myth carried with it not fear but assurance, a promise that renewal would always come. The fields themselves told her story. In autumn, as she descended, the crops were gathered, the soil left bare, the winds cooling. In winter, frost covered the ground, trees shed their leaves, the air still and cold. In spring, shoots emerged, flowers opened, and the air warmed. In summer, the fields reached fullness, abundance spread across the land, the sunlight strong. Then the cycle began again, each phase a reflection of Persephone's path, each one tied to her movement, To survey Persephone's seasons is to see more than weather. It is to understand balance. Growth cannot last without rest. Warmth cannot endure without coolness. Light cannot exist without shadow. Persephone embodied this truth, her presence a reminder that both halves of the cycle were needed. The patient fields waiting under frost were as important as the golden harvest. The cooler winds were not punishment, but preparation, making way for renewal. Her role also carried a sense of comfort to mortals facing loss. Just as crops returned after winter, so too did her story suggest that endings were not final, that life continued in cycles beyond what was seen. The underworld was not a place of despair when tied to her presence, but a place that fit into the whole of existence. Her time there was balanced by her return, her absence always followed by her arrival. This rhythm reminded mortals that even in loss, renewal would follow. The cool winds of autumn carried a soft sound through the trees, leaves brushing against one another before falling to the earth. The soil beneath grew firm, holding the seeds that would wait for spring. The air became crisp, each breath carrying clarity. Winter followed with its silence, snow covering the land in white stillness, rivers slowing, nights longer. Then spring came, the winds shifting warmer, fields softening, green returning. Summer followed with fullness, the fields heavy with grain, the air filled with fragrance. Each change unfolded with patience, never rushed, each one inevitable. Persephone's presence in myth was not one of drama, but of quiet assurance. She represented continuity, the unbroken return of life after stillness. Her journey between worlds gave structure to time itself, teaching that patience was as necessary as abundance. Mortals looked to her story and saw not despair, but the comfort of rhythm, the promise of renewal. She was a goddess of both shadow and light, her dual role ensuring that neither was forgotten. To imagine her seasons is to rest in their rhythm. Picture the fields cooling under autumn winds, the soil dark and resting. See the frost of winter quiet and still, the earth pausing under its cover. Feel the freshness of spring, the shoots rising, the air scented with new life. Watch the fullness of summer, the fields golden, the air heavy with warmth. Then see the cycle return, steady and unbroken. Through Persephone, the earth breathes, inhales with abundance, exhales with rest. As the breath of the listener slows, the rhythm of her seasons becomes a guide. Each inhale is like the return of spring, each exhale like the stillness of winter. The body follows the same balance, finding comfort in the cycles that Persephone embodies. Her story is not one of loss, but of renewal, not of despair but of patience. Through her the fields endure, the winds shift, the soil rests, and life begins again. And as her seasons continue, the listener drifts into the same rhythm, carried by her quiet assurance into the peace of sleep. Chapter 17. Drift through Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus. Steady tasks completed. Drift now through the stories of Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus, three figures whose steady completion of tasks left their mark on the ancient world, not through sudden triumphs alone, but through persistence, endurance, and clarity of purpose. Their tales, though filled with challenges, are remembered not for chaos, but for the calm order of tasks carried out and brought to their end. Each name holds weight in myth, each task they completed becoming part of the structure of memory, shaping the way people understood courage, duty, and the quiet strength of persistence. Heracles was known for his labors, 12 in number, each one different, each one requiring a patience that extended beyond brute strength. His story was not one of noise but of endurance, a figure moving from one task to the next with determination. He faced creatures that tested him, journeys that stretched across lands, and duties that demanded both resilience and focus. Yet with each labor, he brought the task to completion, steady and deliberate. The Nemean lion, with its unyielding hide, fell under his persistence. The Hydra, with its many heads, was overcome by patience and method. Each labor was met not with haste, but with the clarity of one who endured. His tasks carried lessons of discipline. To clean the Augean stables, he redirected rivers, showing that strength was not only in the body, but in the mind. To capture the Cyrenaean hind, he relied on patience, following it for a year before he succeeded. To bring back the apples of the Hesperides, he sought guidance, showing that wisdom mattered as much as action. Heracles represented endurance, the ability to face task after task without faltering, bringing each one to its end. His presence in myth is not only about strength, but about the assurance that duties, no matter how heavy, can be carried through. Perseus's story was shaped by clarity and precision. His task was to bring back the head of Medusa, a challenge not of noise but of careful steps. He carried a shield polished to reflect her gaze, a sword to complete the act, and the guidance of gods who aided his path. His journey was measured, his actions deliberate. He did not rush into danger blindly, but moved with foresight, each step considered. When he entered the lair of Medusa, he used the reflection to avoid her deadly gaze, turning her own power against her. His task was completed with calm focus, his success a reminder of the value of preparation and strategy. Perseus also brought Andromeda to safety, freeing her from the threat of the sea monster. His presence was not only about slaying, but about restoring balance, about completing tasks that protected as much as they conquered. His role in myth was that of a hero whose actions were steady and assured, whose decisions were thoughtful, whose successes came not by chance but through clarity. He represents the quiet assurance that challenges, no matter how daunting, can be met when steps are taken carefully and steadily. Theseus, too, carried out tasks that shaped the memory of myth. His most remembered act was his journey into the labyrinth, where the Minotaur waited. The labyrinth itself was a place of confusion, its paths twisting endlessly, yet Theseus entered with calm assurance. With the aid of Ariadne's thread, he traced his steps, ensuring that he would not lose his way. His confrontation with the Minotaur was steady, not rushed, and his victory was marked by clarity of thought, as much as by strength. He completed his task by both skill and preparation, ensuring that the people of Athens would no longer send sacrifices to Crete. Theseus's tasks extended beyond the labyrinth. He cleared the road of bandits and dangers, bringing safety to travelers. He unified the people of Attica, creating a stronger Athens. His actions were measured, not reckless. His tasks approached with deliberate care. In each act, he sought not only personal triumph, but the completion of duties that would benefit others. His presence in myth is that of a figure whose steady actions created stability, whose tasks shaped the lives of those who came after. When viewed together, the stories of Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus carry a rhythm of persistence and completion. Each faced different tasks, yet all brought them to their end with patience and clarity. Heracles endured through repetition and weight. Perseus succeeded through preparation and precision, and Theseus triumphed through strategy and unity. Their stories are not only of triumph but of steady progress, each task completed, each duty fulfilled. Their presence in myth also reflects the values of patience and resilience. They remind us that challenges are not overcome in haste, but through careful steps. They show that even the heaviest burdens can be carried when approached with discipline, that even the most dangerous foes can be faced when approached with foresight, and that even the most confusing paths can be navigated when approached with strategy. Their tasks, though legendary, carry lessons of persistence that remain simple and clear. To drift through their stories is to see the rhythm of steady completion. Each labor of Heracles ending with order restored, each act of Perseus completed with clarity, each task of Theseus leading to stability. Their stories unfold like steps in a journey, each one following the last, each one part of a greater whole. The rhythm is soothing, the pattern steady, the outcome certain. They remind us that tasks, no matter how many, can be brought to their end when faced with patience and focus. As the mind holds these stories, calm follows. The steady rhythm of tasks completed mirrors the slowing rhythm of breath. Each labor finished, each challenge overcome, each path traced brings a sense of assurance. The stories do not rise in chaos, but move with calm progression, carrying the listener deeper into stillness. Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus remain not as figures of noise, but as reminders of quiet persistence, their steady completion of tasks, a reflection of endurance. The image of their journeys lingers. Heracles standing after each labor, Perseus holding the shield that guided his way, Theseus stepping out of the labyrinth with thread in hand. Each image is calm, each one steady, each one a reminder that tasks, once begun, can be brought to their end. The listener drifts through these stories as through a calm landscape, moving gently from one to the next, finding assurance in their steady progress. And as these stories settle, the body rests deeper, the breath grows softer, and the mind sinks further into peace. The tales of Heracles, Perseus, and Theseus become not noise but rhythm, a sequence of tasks completed, a reminder that progress unfolds with patience. Their presence in memory becomes steady, their lessons enduring, and as the listener drifts further, sleep gathers like the quiet completion of one more task, gentle and assured, carrying them into rest. Chapter 18. Soften awareness for the Trojan War's camps, shields, and shoreline. Soften awareness now as the long story of the Trojan War unfolds, not with shouts or clash, but with the slow vision of camps stretched along the shoreline, shields resting beside tents, and waves reaching the sand in steady rhythm. This war, remembered for its length and endurance, can be seen in the quiet picture of the coast, where soldiers waited, where ships lined the water, and where time passed in days that carried both tension and stillness. To look upon it now is not to hear noise, but to observe order, rows of shelters, weapons stacked, fires glowing at night, and the endless sea holding the reflection of stars above. The war began with the journey of ships crossing from Greece to Troy, sails catching the wind, oars moving with measured strokes. Across the sea, hundreds of vessels carried men who would wait for years on that shore. Their arrival did not end in sudden victory, but in long patience, a war that stretched over 10 years, a story of endurance more than of speed. The camps rose along the coastline, tents made of hides, fires burning steadily, shields stacked in rows. It was here, in the quiet rhythm of waiting, that much of the war unfolded, with moments of battle, followed by long spans of silence. The shields themselves were symbols of protection, not only in battle, but in rest. Their round surfaces caught the light of the fire at night, their edges pressed into the sand when men slept nearby. Each shield represented the presence of a soldier, each one part of the line that stood against Troy. The sound of shields clashing was remembered in story, but in the camps they were often still, leaning against spears, reminders of duty not yet called. Their presence was steady, their shape constant, their weight a grounding against the shifting sea air. The shoreline was the frame of the war, the place where ships rested, their hulls pulled onto the sand. Waves touched them lightly, washing against the wood, the rhythm of tide unbroken by the presence of men. The sea carried the sound of oars, the calls of sailors, the quiet of waiting ships. At night, the water reflected the fires of the camps, the glow of flames mirrored by the glow of stars. This was the setting of the war, as much as the walls of Troy itself. The endless stretch of water, the sand beneath feet, the horizon carrying both distance and return. The camps were places of routine. Fires were lit, meals prepared, watches set, weapons checked. Soldiers lived here not in constant battle, but in the rhythm of waiting. Their lives marked by repetition. They repaired armor, cared for horses, sharpened blades. They spoke quietly at night. their voices carrying through the air like low hums. The war was not only in the moments of combat, but in these long years of camps along the shore, steady and enduring. Leaders like Agamemnon, Achilles, and Odysseus walked these camps, their names remembered in tales. But here they were part of the same order as the men around them. Their presence gave structure, their decisions shaped battles, but all shared in the same rhythm of the shoreline. Achilles' tent stood apart, his anger shaping the course of the war. Yet it was still a tent upon the sand, still part of the long wait. Odysseus's mind worked on plans, but his steps still pressed into the same ground. The leader's presence added weight, but the setting remained calm in its repetition. The walls of Troy stood across from these camps, high and steady, visible from the shore. From a distance, they were a reminder of the war's purpose, but they remained silent to those waiting. Between the camps and the walls stretched fields where battles were fought. Yet when the fighting ended, silence returned, and the shoreline reclaimed its rhythm. The war was marked as much by these pauses as by conflict, the quiet time of camps lasting longer than the noise of combat. The sounds of the camps were steady, the crackle of fire, the clink of metal, the murmur of voices, the waves meeting sand. At night, the air cooled, carrying the smell of smoke and sea salt, the light of torches flickering against tents. The stars above were constant, their positions unchanging despite the years of war. Soldiers lay on the ground, their shields close by, their eyes closing under the same sky that stretched across both sides of the conflict. The night did not rush. It passed with the same slowness each evening, a rhythm that endured through the war. The story of the Trojan War is filled with names and deeds, yet when softened into calm awareness, it becomes a picture of endurance. Men waited by their ships, their lives marked by the patience of years. The shoreline carried their presence without change. The sea met the sand without fail. The shields remained upright in rows. The fires burned in cycles. The camps stretched across the coast like a second city of cloth and wood. This was the steady life of the war, a life lived in repetition and patience. The final years brought the stories most remembered: the duel of Achilles and Hector, the grief of Priam, the plan of the wooden horse. Yet even these moments unfolded within the same calm setting of the shoreline. The horse was built with care, its wood cut and shaped near the sea, its frame rising slowly under patient hands. The plan itself was one of waiting, of men hidden inside while the horse stood silent before Troy. Even the final act of the war carried with it the rhythm of patience, the endurance of silence before sudden change. But here, in softened awareness, the noise fades, and what remains is the picture of camps, shields, and shoreline. Fires burn in the night, shields lean in rows, waves move in steady cycles. Soldiers sit quietly, their voices low, their bodies at rest after long days. The walls of Troy stand distant, the sea stretches endless, and the stars glow overhead. This is the true shape of the war, when seen in stillness, not only battle, but waiting, not only noise, but calm endurance. To hold this image is to feel the rhythm of the sea itself. Waves come forward, waves draw back, each motion steady, each sound the same. Shields rest in sand, their weight grounding. Fires glow in circles, their warmth steady, their light soft. Men drift into sleep in their tents, their breaths slow, their bodies still. The war becomes background, the shoreline becomes present, the night becomes calm. As the breath of the listener slows, the story settles into quiet. The Trojan War, remembered for its length and weight, softens into a rhythm of patience. The camps stretch along the sand, the shields rest against spears, the sea moves in endless cycles. The story ends not in noise, but in calmness, in the image of firelight reflected on water, in the stillness of soldiers at rest, in the steady sound of waves upon the shore. And as that image lingers, the listener drifts into their own rest, the mind quiet, the body heavy, sleep arriving as certain as the tide. Chapter 19. Unwind with Odysseus returning home. Quiet stars and steady sails. Unwind with the image of Odysseus returning home, a journey across calm waters where stars guided his sails and the night carried him forward with steady rhythm. His story, long and filled with trials, reaches this point not with sudden noise but with the quiet certainty of return, a slow movement toward the place he had left years before. The war at Troy had ended, his trials with storms and islands had passed, and now the sea stretched out in front of him, carrying him back toward Ithaca. It was not only the end of a voyage, but the fulfillment of patience, the completion of a circle drawn across years. The ship beneath him was simple, built with strong timbers, its sail rising upward to catch the wind. The wood creaked softly, the ropes tightened with the pull of air. The sound of water moved steadily against the hull. Nothing rushed. The sea did not hurry him. The winds carried him with balance, and the stars above lit the way with steady light. Each moment was a reminder that journeys are not completed in haste, but with endurance, that the path home is measured in patient miles, not sudden leaps. Above him, the night sky was clear, the stars steady in their places. Each constellation held its form, guiding his course, offering direction across the vast sea. The stars were the same ones he had seen as a youth, the same ones that would shine long after his journey ended. Their permanence gave comfort, their order a guide. The silence of the night was not empty, but filled with the soft presence of these lights, their glow stretching across the dark water. The sail itself swelled gently with the breeze, pulling the ship forward without force. Its canvas moved with quiet rhythm, rising and falling with the air. The mast held firm, its wood solid against the pull of wind. Each part of the ship worked together, every rope, every board, every knot fulfilling its role. Odysseus, though weary from years of wandering, felt the steady progress beneath him, the calm assurance that the ship carried him closer with each passing hour. The sea, though vast, was gentle in these moments. Waves lifted the ship lightly, then lowered it again, their rhythm even, their motion unbroken. The water reflected the light of stars, creating paths of silver across its surface. The horizon was distant, blending sea and sky into a single dark expanse. Yet the direction was clear, the course certain. The sea did not resist him now, but carried him forward, its power softened into guidance. Odysseus himself was no longer the restless warrior of Troy, but a man who had learned patience through his trials. He had faced storms, monsters, and delays, yet he endured each obstacle, teaching him resilience. Now, as he neared his home, his strength was not in force, but in endurance, in the calm certainty that the journey had meaning. His return was not sudden triumph, but the quiet fulfillment of years of longing, the steady progress of sails beneath stars. The memory of his travels lingered, yet here they softened. The island of the Cyclops, the song of the sirens, the halls of Circe, all faded into the background as the present moment carried more weight. He had passed through danger, yet now he rested in the calm of the sea, the quiet of the night, the steady pull of sails. His journey home became not a tale of struggle, but of completion, the long path now leading him where he had always meant to be. On Ithaca, his home awaited hills rising gently, fields lying patient, walls standing steady. Penelope's weaving continued, her hands moving with the same patience that mirrored his endurance at sea. His son had grown, waiting for the father he barely remembered. The land itself seemed to wait as well, soil ready for his return, air carrying the scent of earth and olive trees. The journey across the sea was the last step in the long pattern of waiting and return, absence and reunion. The image of Odysseus on his ship is one of calm endurance. His hands rest on the tiller, his eyes on the horizon, his body steady against the motion of waves. He does not rush. He trusts the ship, the sea, and the stars. Each moment passes with assurance, each mile bringing him closer. The quiet of the night mirrors his calm. The steady sails reflect his patience. The distant horizon carries his hope. His story is not one of sudden arrival, but of gradual return, each detail adding to the picture of completion. The sea around him is vast, yet it feels intimate. Its surface glimmers with starlight. Its rhythm is gentle. Its presence is constant. The air is cool, carrying the scent of salt and wood. The sound of water against the ship is soft, a steady background to the silence. The world is large, yet in this moment, it feels centered, balanced, assured. Odysseus's journey is part of this rhythm, his return blending into the calm cycles of sea and sky. The stars themselves serve as companions. Orion rises, his form familiar. The Pleiades cluster softly, their lights grouped close. Each constellation carries meaning, stories told for generations, guiding sailors across the waters. Odysseus follows them, his course steady, his trust in their permanence unshaken. The stars give direction, but they also give peace, their glow a reminder that order exists even in the vastness of night. The journey home becomes more than physical. It is the return to order, to family, to balance. It is the completion of cycles, the fulfillment of promises. The war was noise, the trials were struggle, but the return is calm, measured, patient. Odysseus represents this shift. His figure on the ship, a symbol of endurance, rewarded, of patience fulfilled. His sails move steadily, his stars shine clearly, his ship drifts closer with each passing moment. As the story unfolds, the image softens further. The ship drifts smoothly, the sea calms, the stars glow brighter, the horizon begins to show the faint outline of land. Ithaca waiting in stillness. The shoreline carries no noise, only the quiet presence of home. The return is not marked by celebration, but by calm assurance. The slow fulfillment of years of longing. The journey ends as quietly as it began, with the steady motion of waves, the patient pull of sails, and the stars overhead. To unwind with Odysseus is to rest in this rhythm. The ship moves steadily, the sea flows calmly, the stars guide without fail. The mind drifts with the ship, the body rests as the sails swell and ease. The breath slows with the rhythm of waves, each inhale steady, each exhale calm. The story does not rise into noise, but fades into stillness, leaving only the presence of sea, stars, and sails. And as the listener holds this image, the return of Odysseus becomes a mirror of rest. His patience mirrors the body settling into stillness. His sails mirror the breath, filling and emptying. His stars mirror the calm of the night sky. The story closes not with triumph shouted, but with peace reached, the quiet of homecoming, the assurance of arrival. The listener drifts with him, carried by steady sails and quiet stars, into the calm certainty of sleep. Chapter 20. Conclude by resting eyelids heavy. The story now complete. Conclude now in calm assurance, as the story that is stretched from the beginnings of earth and sky to the quiet return of Odysseus comes to its final moment, and everything within it settles into rest. The myths of gods and heroes have unfolded, each one adding to the great rhythm of creation, endurance and balance. Now the narrative softens, not into sudden silence, but into the gentle close of a journey that has moved through cycles of time, through seasons of growth and stillness, through lives that rose and fell with patience. The story is complete, and the body, heavy with calm, prepares to release into sleep. The eyes grow softer as the rhythm of words slows, each phrase steady, each detail clear, but gentle. The weight of the day fades away, replaced by the image of the myths resting as if they too were lying down beneath the stars. The gods are settled in their places, Zeus on Olympus, Demeter in her fields, Hades in his underworld, Poseidon over the seas, The heroes are remembered for their tasks, their journeys, their endurance. Yet all of them now are quiet, their stories told, their roles fulfilled, their presence lingering in calm memory rather than in motion. The mind, having followed their stories through creation, order, seasons, and wars, now feels the relief of conclusion. There is no urgency left, no unfinished business. Each tale has been given space. Each figure has found their place. Just as the myths themselves reached completion, so too does the body now prepare for rest. Eyelids grow heavy, shoulders soften further, and breath slows, guided by the same rhythm that carried the stories. The night is steady outside, its air cool, its stars clear. The sky holds its constellations in quiet order, each one a reminder of the myths just recalled. Orion hunts silently, the Pleiades cluster softly, and the moon casts a pale glow across the land. The world outside is calm, and within that calm, the body begins to drift. The stories no longer call for attention. They rest like the constellations themselves, fixed in place, steady, requiring nothing more. The heaviness in the eyes deepens, pulling downward like the gentle weight of blankets. Limbs feel anchored, yet light at the same time, sinking into the bed with ease. Each breath draws in quiet and releases tension. The stories fade into memory, no longer demanding focus, only leaving impressions of fields, seas, forests, and stars. The rhythm of myth becomes the rhythm of sleep, steady and sure. The gods and heroes are no longer distant figures but calm presences, watching quietly as the listener drifts. Hera's constancy feels like the firmness of steady breath. Apollo's music lingers like the hum of quiet air. Artemis's forest become the stillness of night around the room. Demeter's fields mirror the softness of blankets. Persephone's cycles mirror the rhythm of inhaling and exhaling. All of them blend together into one presence, calm, complete, unbroken. The listener's body follows, no longer restless, no longer seeking. The eyelids close further, the weight pulling them shut, until only darkness remains. That darkness is not emptiness, but comfort, the same comfort as the night sky, the same stillness as the sea when winds are soft. Thoughts slow until they are no more than whispers, fading one after another until only breath remains. The mind rests, the story rests, everything is settled. Completion is not abrupt, but natural, as though this moment was always meant to arrive. Just as Zeus divided realms, just as Persephone returned in her time, just as Odysseus reached his home, this story has reached its close. Its order is fulfilled, its rhythm complete. The body recognizes this, responding with deepening stillness, the breath heavy and even, the heart steady. Sleep is no longer distant, but present, ready, waiting. The fire of Prometheus, the patience of the Titans, the strength of Heracles, the wisdom of Athena, all become part of a calm whole. They no longer stand as separate stories, but as one completed cycle, a circle drawn to its end. In that circle lies peace, a reminder that all things return to stillness. The listener rests in that circle, their body part of the same rhythm, their breath part of the same order. The eyes close fully now, the heaviness too strong to resist. Yet that heaviness is not burden, but relief, a gentle gift that signals rest. The muscles loosen further, the body no longer needing to hold itself up. The bed supports every part, just as the myth supported the imagination, just as the stories carried the mind. Nothing more is required. The silence of the room deepens. Sounds fade into the background, until they are no more than faint textures of the night. The steady heartbeat, the quiet breath, the warmth of covers. These are the only sensations that remain. The myths have dissolved into dreams, their presence now a part of the sleep to come. The story is complete, and so is the listener's journey through it. Sleep gathers like a tide, rising slowly, covering thought and awareness. It does not rush, It arrives in calm certainty, inevitable as Persephone's return, steady as the stars overhead. The listener drifts into it, their body surrendering, their mind no longer holding. The myths fade, the room fades, everything fades into the rhythm of sleep. And now the story is not only complete, but set aside, like a scroll rolled and placed on a shelf. It remains there, whole and remembered, ready for another time, but tonight it rests. The listener rests with it, their body heavy, their breath even, their mind drifting. The journey through myth becomes the journey into dreams, the end of one path becoming the beginning of another. The story is done. The eyelids are heavy, the breath is calm, the body is at rest, the mind has no need to wander further. The listener has arrived at sleep, just as Odysseus arrived at Ithaca, just as the myths arrived at their close. Everything is complete, and in that completeness there is peace. Now the body surrenders fully, the story dissolves entirely, and the listener drifts into the quiet depths of rest, the night holding them steady, the world silent, the cycle whole.